All right, let's get right back into this. Day one had absolutely everything. The world champions got knocked out. G2 were defeated by Falcons in their second game to send them packing. And we're just getting started here. M80 exploded into our playoffs yesterday in emphatic fashion. And listen, we need to start filling up some more playoff spots. Welcome to Gamers8 featuring Rainbow Six here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. My name's Ian Chambers and this is my co-host Fancy. Are you ready?
I'm ready Ian. أعزائنا المشاهدين، أول يوم انتهى من رينبو 6 سيج في جيمرز 8 في أرض الأبطال. في أول يوم بطل العالم جي 2 انتهى مسيرته معنا وانتهت قصته على يد فالكونز اللي خسروا مباراتهم الأولى هنا على المسرح، خسارة جدا قوية. لكن اليوم جايين نشهد أول مباراة في البلاي أوفس عندنا، نشوف مين اللي بيروح للجراند فاينل ونعرف مين اللي بيكون متواجد مع كل الفرق في البلاي أوفس ومين اللي بيقدر ياخذ السبوت الثانية أيضا في النهائي. مباراة جدا حماسية، خلونا نشوف ايش ممكن يصير. معاكم فانسي ومعنا إيان تشامبرز في تقديم هذه المباراة.
Hey, the bit I picked up on there was my name. Thank you very much for that. Well, one thing's for sure, this trophy is up for grabs and it will be raised by the end of this process. And of course, that $2 million prize pool. It's all eyes on the prize. And should we bring out our next two teams?
Let's do it.
Our Group B upper bracket final for a spot in the playoffs. And we're starting with one of the best teams in the world. Making their first appearance ever on a Gamers8 stage, it's w7m! This is the team here at this tournament that has most recently lifted some Siege silverware. I was lucky enough to be in Copenhagen to witness them achieve their dreams. Guys, you can make your way down here onto the front of the stage now if you want to. Come on down and look, they massively deserve that trophy. A lot of pressure was around them, a lot of hype saying they were the best team to potentially ever play the game, and they won that silverware. They're looking to do it again.
w7m الفريق هذا ابدا ما هو غريب عن الانترناشونال ستيجز، وابدا ما هو غريب عن انهم ينافسون افضل ابطال العالم، لانهم هم الان حاليا يعتبرون افضل فريق في العالم بعد فوزهم بالذات في الرينبو 6 سيج الكوبنهاجن ميجر اللي ادوا في اداء كان مخالف التوقعات بالكامل. لكن جايين اليوم يضمنون تواجدهم معنا في البطوله، يضمنون تاهلهم ايضا الى النهائيات في اول ظهور لهم على موسم الجيمرز.
Of course, their opponents know the weight of this trophy.
خصومهم اعزائنا المشاهدين ما هم غريبين ابدا عن المسرح هذا، لا ننسى انهم هم كانوا ابطال السنه الماضيه. اذا ما تعرفهم خلينا نشوف مين بيكونون وعلى طول نرحب فيهم على المسرح. حامل اللقب لموسم الجيمرز تيم BDS.
This is a team that feels destined and determined to be back-to-back champions here in Riyadh. As they make their way down the stage, they made a statement start yesterday with a convincing win over Oxygen, but they've really got their work cut out for them here against w7m. One of these two teams will make it into the playoffs when this series is done.
ثاني مرة نشهد فريق BDS معنا على المسرح، وفي أول مرة ظهروا فيها أداء كان غير متوقع وقدروا يخلصون المباراة بسرعة جدا فائقة. لكن الآن قدامهم مباراة واحدة فقط على الوصول إلى النهائيات على ضمان تواجدهم معنا كمركز ثاني، وحتى ممكن يصيرون الباك تو باك تشامبيونز معنا في موسم الجيمرز.
Yeah, two teams who've lifted Siege silverware respectively in the last 12 months, and both of them are hungry for more. Let's get into this one with our casters.
والآن جاء الوقت أعزائنا المشاهدين إننا نروح مع المعلقين، ولازم نشوف مين الفريق اللي اثنين منهم يبي يقدر يوصل إلى النهائيات. لازم تحط ببالك نقطة إنه كلهم في السنة الماضية فازوا في أحد الميجرز عندنا في رينبو 6 سيج، فكلهم عندهم القدرة إنهم يفوزون في المباراة بالكامل. بالتوفيق لهم على طول، وديكم عند المعلقين.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Day 2 of the Rainbow Six event here at Gamers8 2023 is getting started right here and right now between W7M and BDS. It's Blue and Stokes here on the mic for game number 1. And what a game this is bound to be. Both teams relatively shutting down their opponents to start off the tournament yesterday, and now they have to face off against each other. It's BDS, of course, who just managed to take control of the 2022 G8 tournament, going up against W7M, who, of course, just won the most recent major as well. These are two incredibly high caliber teams, major winning teams as well. It's bound to be a clash for the ages. We'll have to see how it goes. Our first map is going to be here on Chalet. Stokes, get your opening thoughts on how these two teams are going to face off.
Oh, this is the game that everybody was hoping for, John. And fortunately enough, you and I are going to be the ones to cast it. Should be a pretty entertaining day for us here, as this won't be the only best of 3 that you and I will be doing, but surely maybe the best one that we get of this entire tournament. As BDS was absolutely on fire yesterday, but W7M, they could be the team to finally put a chip in that crown.
This could be kind of the beginning of what we could see as well, going into even like a finals matchup as well. This is a very good possibility to see this one rehashed if the bracket works out that way. Once we get into that playoff stage, we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be the case. Once again, Chalet, a map that we've also already seen BDS play in their matchup versus Oxygen yesterday. Once again, showing a masterclass of how to handle things on each and every single round, especially when it came to just countering out their opponent strategically. I did an interview with Lycofac after they took the victory yesterday, and he said that was one of the big keys to victory. They did some analysis before the game, came to a pretty stark decision. It's like, okay, we just need to play this very specific way to counter Oxygen's play style, and the results very much speak for themselves. 7-1, 7-2, shut them down. So we'll have to see if they can pull out something similar today against W7M, but as we were just discussing, W7M, they took the most recent majors. They're not going to be any slouches here either.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words, and both of these teams are about that action. We're just moments away here, folks, from jumping into Chalet as the match has just begun. Make sure everything's good on our side, and we'll throw you guys into the map so we can get into the ban phase. But yes, I mean, there is no other way to slice this, but this is going to be elite gameplay out of both of these squads, and I'm absolutely pumped to get into this one. Things start off on Chalet. Let's go play in the snow, folks. It's BDS here with the ban.
Ban's coming up, and indeed, as Stokes said, first ban coming in here is going to be Nomad, removing some of that anti-roam capability from W7M. Hopefully should allow once more for the more aggressive members of BDS to kind of have their way with the opening minute or 2 of each round here. Just gives that little bit of extra freedom. Still plenty of ways W7M can look to counter that out. Just Nomad's one of the very direct ways to deal with that. But obviously will no longer be the case as she's been banned out. W7M has the response to it, and the final attacker-sided ban. It's going to be a repeat from yesterday's game from BDS's side, as well as Dokkaebi still going to be very commonly banned out here.
Yeah, not a shocker. She's just so unbelievably potent. It's like, what the heck do you even do with something like that? You got Gones, you got everything available to you, so.
Now away from that, the second ban coming in on the defensive side, or the first ban for the defensive side. Second ban for W7M, Valkyrie. We've been seeing her get banned out quite often as well, and that's been the case for like a year or two now, so that shouldn't really surprise anyone in that respect. And then the final ban comes through now. It'll be from BDS. They're going to knock out Mira, another operator we've seen very commonly banned out on maps like this where she does have those power positions to use it, especially inside of basement. Those can be the make or break difference. Areas like library can be heavily played into with Mira windows as well, so they want to remove that factor entirely. It's a bit of a self-handicap, obviously, as they were starting out on the defensive side, but it's certainly one that they should be able to play around without too much of an issue. Let's get into it, though, as round number 1's getting started. It looks like we'll have a bar gaming defense for BDS.
Starting things off at the bar. Gonna play a few games over in the other room. Obviously gonna be holding on to the top floor as well. Been seeing a lot of teams over the last handful of months try and go more direct with this site, not try and go for the full clear. So we'll see what happens here for W7M. And speaking of W7M, they got a little bit of a tech issue right now. So we're gonna get that solved before we throw them into their very first round, just to make sure that everything is working appropriately. Nobody ends up having an advantage that we did not end up noticing.
It's going to be KZ over there. Just a little bit of a check real quickly to do with his computer, and then hopefully we should be able to get back into it. In fact, we already are. Let's go live with the first round here. I was once going to keep in mind, we do have repick enabled, so we could see some change-ups here to W7M's lineup once they get a better feel for things on the actual site, but it already matches up pretty well with what we'll more than likely be getting. Despite that, though, Nade has already swapped over the Hard Breach. It's just a small change-up, though, as he's going to go from the more normal Thermite to the Ace, just to give him that little bit extra flexibility here if he needs to kind of play things from range. quite a few changes actually coming in as well. The Brava also being added. She was banned out when we played this map for BDS and OXG yesterday, so she's going to be a new addition into this one. That'll be great for dealing with some of these extended setups like you're seeing the Lems and Shaiko deploy towards now over here inside of the office. Any supporting utility can be dealt with a lot more easily by those drones. And of course, the Candelas have also been swapped in as a replacement for the Lion, and not going to necessarily need that anti-roam capability. They feel like here, the Candelas will be much better for the actual execute, and I tend to agree with that. As we saw in yesterday's game here, some teams are struggling to kind of establish that necessary positioning, especially if they're going to try to work the hatch, so you may need those Candelas for that extra bit of a burst to kind of get you into the site and get started with your entries.
Absolutely. w7m, like a lineup here, a vicious one at that. Plenty of ways to try and dissect this map, and this Brava pick is going to be the biggest thing. Fleepox is going to have to try and dance around a lot of the different defenders here. Brava practically a more malleable Twitch at the end of the day. Doesn't have the F2 or the 417, but still has some powerful weapons in that incredible drone that so many pros have been using to its maximum efficiency. KZ, he's going to pop in. It's going to be a trade, but no nade. Instead, he'll take down Bride. W7m burst onto site, and they're already eliminating BDS. Oh, well, guess what, BDS? It's a whole different world today, isn't it? Chalet is not going to be nearly as easy against this Brazilian powerhouse.
The first time BDS really having to deal with something like that so far in this tournament. A sudden burst as we have no reinforcements, no capability to hold back. Just a sudden flood of player count from the inside of the basement.
Not a breach, no verticality, nothing. Just simply, this is my damn site. Now I'm going to do what I please.
I mean, they find a hole in the defense and they just immediately pierce it. It's beautifully played by w7m right there. Fairly simple, but simple it works.
Hey,
yeah.
Hey man, keep it simple, stupid. I'm so serious. That's the best way to keep about things. And you know what the beauty of that round was for w7m? Not only did they have some stuff going on the top floor, but look at the trade game here from w7m. They recognized what was going on inside of the bar area, and they put 2 bodies on that, John.
Yep.
So that way when the first guy goes down, it isn't like the other dude's a country mile away and isn't going to be able to help him out. And that's why w7m is so quickly capable of taking that round.
Like you mentioned there as well, some great distractions going on the top end, just making sure that as you're seeing these rotates come through, more than likely BDS thinking, okay, there's a full rush on site, more than likely they're all focused on it. Nope, that's not the case. They've got, in fact, a full building cross, at least as far as that front library side is concerned, to take care of anyone that tries to rotate in and cut off those players that wanted to push in from the basement. Beautiful job from w7m. They're just completely countering out the positional setup for BDS in that round.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, I've been off for a little while, so Fresh and I were talking about this a little bit yesterday, kind of talking about what that setup looks like inside of game, and that's exactly what you expect out of the defense. You expect them to try and hold that map control, and that's why that direct motive works so incredibly well, especially with the strategy that w7m had there, as John was referencing. They were able to hold that entire top floor, but not really dedicate themselves into the building, instead just holding the rotations, and that's really what you're looking to do in a situation like that, and obviously a detriment to BDS, and one that proved to be a flawless round for w7m, as not a single person has actually lost their life yet, just a single down.
Bride is able to snipe
Shaiko's
away
dead.
that extra claw, and yeah, Shaiko's caught this time by Filippo. This is a very fast-moving w7m in this game as well. They were mentioning it, Bride is going to be able to hold down the hatches a little bit more here because he saved that second electric claw, but as you notice, the wall itself for Snowmobile Garage is long gone, just under 60 seconds into the round.
It almost feels as though BDS has to walk this back a bit. This strategy it's not loose, it's just very wide, and that makes it to where w7m can really exploit a lot of these single-digit players. Renshiro taking a lot of damage. That's going to be for the cross angle there from KZ, but he should be able to skimper off, and that's going to be one boon for BDS that they desperately need, and finally, they're awake. The P90 will rip KZ to shreds, and BDS finally on the right foot.
Yeah, it takes a moment for them to be able to figure out how to properly counter out some of this very early aggression coming in from w7m. Now they've locked in for Renshiro as well as Lightback. Doing an excellent job here to be able to counter out
play.
Early aggression. Birds will pop open the hatch, hopefully leave a secondary angle open for him to work later on in the round if necessary. Won't be the only one playing for the front side, but there's still a few players roaming around from BDS over here on Solarium's side that have yet to have been dealt with, and certainly need to dedicate a flank watch to that now. That's probably what this drone is meant to do, indeed. It'll scout out Alem's position, force him back for a few seconds, but it is also going to prompt one of the members from w7m to be permanent flank watch for when that player reignites their aggression in a few seconds. You can already see Alem's sneaking back over towards dining room, but Filippo, dedicated to the take now, does go down through the hatch. Shouldn't leave them too exposed to that flank, but they're going to have to be careful of it eventually. That's what Herds is is trying to do here now. There's the entry power coming through. 3 kills back to back to back from w7m. Lem strikes, but he's too late. The entire Insight defense has fallen to pieces. Once again, great job by w7m working the site take there, and with much more difficulty mounting against them this time as well.
A triple kill out of the ace, too, to cap it off. Incredible rounds here from w7m. Much more stalwart appearance from BDS as they were trying to stay tried and true to the strategy, keep that roam going, but not working out for them. Again, this very spread positioning from BDS is allowing w7m to do what they do best, find these frags and try and open up this map. Yes, it didn't initially work out for them as BDS is able to get the man advantage, but w7m go one step further. They know that they have site control and know that they're able to box out BDS from the most important portion of that site. Like you see here, Herd's already having control of blue, and they also had the Ash drop down on the stuns through the hatch over inside of Fireplace Hall to mask the sound, John. So they had no idea about any positioning of w7m at all. They just had to trust their gut and stop that plan.
It was a great thing we got that the POV of that double kill from Hertz too, because it just shows you the kind of jumbled positioning that BDS is working with there to try to recover from that entry power, which had suddenly shown up against them. Great stuff. BDS just don't know when to expect w7m to come knocking. That's been a huge issue for them so far. But to be fair to BDS, they've already done a much better job of improving their resistance, specifically in that early to mid-round portion, as we were seeing them slow down the overall take speed from w7m. They're on the first floor. Now we just need to see them slowly figure this out a little bit more, find better ways to resist the actual site take in the late round too, and we should hopefully start seeing a few rounds pop on the board for BDS as well.
Yeah. BDS are practically playing a game against the best pitcher in the league right now. You just don't know what's going to be coming out of his hand. Could be the seam, could be the curve, could be the fast. w7m, they're good for all of it. Every single one of these things landing. And I also just love the fact that no matter what the mana count is, they're always adapting. They're always trying to find a solution. And that is something that I always harp on when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege. You have got to be solving these problems with your team. If you are not talking and solving problems, you've already lost the battle. There's no way anything's going to work out for you. What a read, but Shaiko! No, it's Renshiro this time around. End up shutting him down. KZ is going to try and hop in as well, but oh, the fear gas. It works up against Renshiro. An assist right out of the mine. But Nate will be able to finally take him down in very similar circumstances to what we saw in round 2.
First real kind of overextension we see there from w7m, where they arguably need to use a little bit more than necessary to take that player down. JV is going to get caught here.
Mines,
yeah,
man.
Those dread mines are brutal. Once you get tagged by it as well, that's how you're locked in for that full 5 or so seconds of blind for the most part. So very, very difficult, especially if you're going for an entry. And here's the problem he's been distracted by. Now it's Lycofac. No, he caught it. JV92. Nicely done here as Lycofac cannot get away with one like we were seeing in yesterday's game. 1-3 so far here. Whereas we were seeing much better results from him in the OXG game. Still early days, though, so plenty of time for improvement in that part.
I think the craziest damn thing about this is how w7m is kind of forcing BDS to play the game so early on. We're only a minute and a half in right now, and they're able to process this entire portion of the floor because of the timing and the way that they played this early round.
Even with the players they're losing potentially on that first or second entry, w7m are not doing what a lot of other teams do, where they kind of like take a step back, reanalyze it, maybe send another drone in. They're like, nope, we're just send another player in, like, we'll try it again.
Flowing.
And as we saw, it was a little bit questionable because it brought them down to the 3v4 there a second ago, but now they've countered Lycofac. We're back on even numbers. Still a risky take, especially with Shaiko's position, but he's going to rotate back down, and now Brede will get caught. Nade won't have an easy path out of here because of Shaiko's position, but Nade now has connector control as well. Shaiko, the only one that remains here. Suddenly, this is flipped against him, but a good first pick. At least reopens the rotation. JV92, though, immediately counters, and yet again, it's a w7m round. 3-0 in their favor.
Do they call a timeout already? That's the real question. I feel like the adjustments are starting to come through for BDS. The defensive side of Chalet is never all too favorable.
I don't think we'll see it here.
So,
we're wrong.
I was right. I missed
BDS
you, buddy.
do go to the timeout. Like I do agree with you though. BDS has been like getting closer and closer to that round win every single round. So this is a bit of a double-edged sword in the tax box, because obviously they're going to be able to discuss more specifically what's been going wrong on a round-to-round basis, but that also gives w7m a moment here, obviously, to like, okay, we're doing this thing wrong, so they could come back just as strong as well into round 4 here and fix some of their own mistakes they've been making when it comes to the entry power as well.
It's going to be really difficult for them because w7m are playing so very well right now, John, and it's really not only up to just the mechanical skill of these players, it's a conversation that you can clearly see going on between them and how they're dealing with a lot of the issues that BDS are presenting, like Renshiro upstairs. They had 3 people trying to solve that equation all at the same same time, which, I mean...
And again, it's so fast right now on W7M.
Listen, if you're on W7M, you look at your teammates and you just kiss them on the forehead, bro. Because, like, I'm telling you, there is very minimal rosters right now in Siege that can play at this level this quickly.
Yep.
Like, this is just
And that's part of the problem
outlandish.
for BDS here, probably why they may have decided to take attack timeout so
Especially
early
after playing against Oxygen yesterday. That was like a walk in the park, man. Like, Oxygen didn't even look like Oxygen. Like,
So BDS is not really being given the time to figure these things out inside of the round itself because of the relative speed that W7M is bringing to the table. So they go for that tack pause there relatively early on, but making perfect sense with an 0-3 start. They've gone through the site rotations now as well here. They've pretty much played out everything they wanted to play more than likely, so hopefully gives full time for reflection from the out-of-game leadership. They are going to go back over here into Dining Room for round 4. We'll have to wait and see if this pause yielded results. Still very similar flair coming out with regards to the operator selection. The Fenrir has made a good impact here today, at least in kind of temporarily slowing down some of the takes from W7M, so I agree with keeping that in play, and the rest of the lineup looks pretty good here as well.
John, I think we're going to be going for something cheeky here in a little bit. Can we see the hatch? The hatch is soft. What's Filippo going to do? Filipox?
This is the problem though. Is this is too alluring, excuse me, of a hatch to play into. We've seen this done quite a few times, so I think at this point it's something that BDS probably
I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. We'll have to see what they do with this this hook here, because they do have some potential on the second floor, obviously, so they can try and use that to clear things out. But looks like W7M, once again, John, they're just going to make things so annoying to play around. Some impacts in on the side to make it where you can't play kitchen the way you want to. Looking for the verticality upstairs. You can see KZ looking to his teammates' screen, seeing if everybody's ready for this situation. Takes a gunfight with a Lems, but it's actually going to be Shaiko for 2 instead. This is what we needed. BDS up by 2 players, but Filipox, he's able to take down at least 1. This top floor starting to come into their control, but they still have to dislodge 1 player in behind the piano. In fact, 2, because I do believe there is still 1 upstairs right behind the half wall here in office.
Still a deficit being played into here by W7M, and an even worse one now with Burides Nitro hitting the mark against JV92. Filippo still at full HP here as he's going to try to push around the corner, but as you can see, not the easiest angle to work. No, the swing comes out, but he catches it. Shaiko finally falls after going for 2 earlier in the round. W7M, once again, just like the previous 3 rounds, refused to give up, even with that player deficit. Big problem, though. They've got to work a descent now in a 2v3 scenario, more than likely with a very minimal info base. That's currently what they're going to work on, and they're doing a good job with this, too. They've already spotted Renshiro in this kind of cheeky position by Trophy. There was a second drone roaming around over towards Dining Room. That's probably caught the other 2 players, or at least got a general position on both of them. W7M probably have just enough to at least probably attempt the Solarium take. And indeed, we're going to see both players trying to work that now, as they know it'll be a 2v1. Hopefully they can force that player to rotate. And indeed they do, but Filippo was mid-reload when doing so. So not going to be able to catch him immediately. Nade thinks he has one, but unfortunately it's a double peek from BDS instead to take him down. Case has been dropped, so BDS can lock all their defenses on this one position now. They know that Filippo is going to have to rotate through here at some point to at least pick up the diffuser. There we go. There was the warning for it from the announcer, and unfortunately, Filippo will not be able to get out of there alive. So finally, after 3 consecutive rounds, we do see BDS get onto the board.
Finally able to get away with some kills and not have any repercussions early on. W7M lose those 2 bodies, and yeah, they still trying to flirt with that top floor, but BDS just too strong for their 2 positions that they ended up playing, as well as a little bit of utility game coming in there, a little cheeky play from BDS, but either way, very well done. And Shaiko actually with a monstrous hop. That's where that came through. We were on another pop there for a split second in the game. That ended up happening, but as you can see, BDS just really taking it to W7M in this round, especially after that big play from Shaiko.
BDS finally on the board, finally figuring out how to counter out some of this early aggression from W7M, and now finally, like we said before, holding the line against it to the bitter end as well. W7M has recovered from a deficit at least 2 out of 3 of the rounds they won. Finally, they do falter inside of it. BDS is able to seal the deal. Let's see if this is the beginning of something stronger from BDS if they run the outright comeback now to bring us back to a 3-3 overall scoreline. 2 rounds still to go in this half. Let's see if they get the job done. A few repicks going to come in here for W7. They're relatively minor, though. Not really going to change the scope of the overall team too much. Just the Lion being swapped in there and a slight change to the hard breach to add a secondary one for Ace on Filippo.
The crappy thing right now for BDS is, although they finally found a site that they could potentially win again, they'll never be able to play it again because of the round count. So round 5 and round 6 will lock out Kitchen. BDS are going to have to try and go to some more traditional sites on this map to get things figured out. Impact out from the drone hole, but it's a right-hand panel charge, so it won't work out for Shaco.
The good news with what you were saying before about how they won a site is I don't think BDS winning that last round there was necessarily because of the site. I think it's just more they finally figured out strategy-wise what they need to do to kind of slow down w7m or outright counter them. So hopefully this is something that they can apply to obviously their basement hold here and whatever they play on round 6 as well. But time will tell.
We'll have to see, Cotton. We will have to see. This round will tell us, John, so we'll see if you're right or wrong. We'll find out, because this is a completely different format of how you're going to be playing Chalet. They're not going to be extended over here towards the Masters side where they have a lot of influence from down low, just because the garage really doesn't provide that except for, you know, Fireplace Hall. But not really going to be seeing maybe too much of that, I would assume.
There's already way more respect being given to BDS now by w7m as well. This is a much more standard kind of opener from them compared to the kind of crazy, like, just, all right, let's suddenly commit 3 people to try to get that entry kill that we've been seeing on the previous few rounds.
To be fair, BDS is completely downstairs as well, so there's not someone that is nearly as isolatable as they were previously. You could say, obviously, as an argument that Lookafek is in a position to be shot directly in his head, but we'll find out here. The good news is that he's solo, so that's why he can get away with this, but the bad news bears is KZ's directly behind him.
Ooh. KZ gonna see if he can get some timing nades here. Won't work out. Like fact though, still holds the line. He'll get at least 1, but Filippo immediately trades that out over in the car garage. Filippo will now rejoin his other teammate KZ here on the top side to try and open up the main wine back wall. Sidewall should still be doable as well, given that Nade still has his second thermite charge, and we don't have any immediate counter ability to come in from BDS's side of things. They lost the snowmobile garage wall way too quickly on their last basement defense, so I'm pretty sure they made the decision to just not bring anything this time. It's probably going to end up being smart. Here's the problem, though. They have no way to reinforce these wine walls, and that means it's going to be an open shooting gallery for w7m. To start things out, it works out brilliantly once again for w7m as well. 3 and now 4 kills in a row. They lose no one on the site entry and quickly retake a dominant stance on their lead here at 4-1.
Masterful Rainbow Six play, man. That's all I got to say about it. They are dotting their I's and crossing their T's, making sure that they are aware of what BDS are up to. They know the shenanigans. They're able to solve it because of it. You can see BDS doing their best to try and figure things out for this last round of Chalet, where w7m could take things 5-1 on this half and make things so difficult for BDS going forward. But that doesn't mean that it's all for naught. Remember, Chalet is a pretty offensive-sided map at the end of the day. It have a little bit of a switch up when it came to things in recent times, but this map does tend to kind of be a teeter-totter. It's really just up to the teams on what happens at the end of the day.
This is the big problem for BDS. They're still allowing w7m to set up for these executes, and once they reach that point, it doesn't really feel like there's a whole lot that can stop them.
I mean, how do you even stop them from setting up? They're setting up outside of the building, man. They're getting all the info and everything before they do anything at all.
And like you mentioned, BDS already tried to kind of play things a bit more aggressively on their basement hold by having roamers messing around the first and second floor. Didn't work, so they doubled down on the defense in this round. Once again, as you had mentioned there, which kind of slowed down w7m's play, but once again, just allowed them to gain all of that intel beforehand and set up for a perfect execute. In part because BDS had no way to counter the wine walls, but at the same time, even if they brought that, more than likely w7m would have been able to read into that, counter it with a Brava drone or something else relatively quickly too. So there's not really an easy way for BDS to win these situations right now, and that's a big part of the problem why they're lagging behind so hard.
Yeah, that's why I was referencing the kitchen site so hard as well, is because like just the positioning that you're given on that site allows your site players to help you out so much on that top floor, and it's just a much easier roam in comparison to a position like this where you have so much influence coming in from these windows, the grenades and everything. You know, even if EFAC drops down here, there could be somebody on this window that also gives them some grief too. You know, there's just so many different ways for them to try and dislodge these players, and there's no real way for BDS to try and play back into it unless w7m makes some very serious errors.
Flashes and nades being dumped to the inside. Filippo baiting in Renshiro because of the peek from Nade. And ironically enough, a grenade kills him. So that'll take him down. Nade obviously at very low HP. He'll have to be a little cautious with his aggression throughout the rest of this round. But seeing he's on hard breach, that's probably not going to be too difficult of a job anyway here.
Oh, he's got him.
Swing maybe coming through. There is a Fear Mine sitting up on the top rafters there, so we will have to be careful of that. I don't think the corner swing will get it, but JB92 with the skeleton key. Oh no, just a little too far away to make that one work. Alems goes down to like 2 HP, but is not finished off. Unfortunately, the scattered pattern of the skeleton key just does not get the job done there, so that is going to bring us back down into a 4v3. Still favor for w7m, but obviously a little bit closer now.
dude, you got to use the sky strategies. You know that are achieved. I heard that from like centuries ago. They used to both run laser all the time on that thing, so the spray pattern would be a heck of a lot easier for them. Makes things a little bit cleaner. Speaking of clean, Lucky trying to keep things straight for BDS here. As well, willing to be able to assist with one kill, BD8 with the other. It's down to the 2 versus 3, but we've seen how dastardly w7m have been in these moments.
Angle wars at the moment here as every player is trying to sneak off a shot or two on the inside
saved
of
his
the
own
site.
life.
Drops down and indeed avoids the explosion from the other side. So we'll keep w7m still at a 2-player count. If they can find that shot onto a Lems, it's obviously going to be much more workable. But he's more than likely buried himself deep into that connector or somewhere else outside of the site to avoid that potential fatality here. Shots come through though. Keys tries to respond to it. Not going to make a connection, unfortunately, as the player crouch ducks away from it. There's the spray out. It's like a fact hiding on the inside connector, and he'll be dealt with by Filippo. Down to the 2v2, and look at the health pools. BDS, both of their players are one-shottable at this point. w7m just needs the confidence to move forward here and land those shots, and the round is there as a 5-1 scoreline could be going their way. As we see, though, that flank coming back around is going to do nothing. KZ gets it all done on his lonesome. His teammate just hiding in the wings if he needed to support it, but no, sir. He manages it all, and it's a 5-1 half for w7m.
Get the hell out of here, w7m. This is crazy. The patience, the cadence, everything about it, John. I'm loving every moment of this w7m gameplay. And the craziest thing about this is BDS are the farthest thing from a slouch team, and w7m
Look at their Gamers8 auction yesterday.
They're just beating them down, man.
Yeah.
This is difficult for BDS right now. They really cannot hold a candle to what w7m's potential is in a lot of these clutch moments.
Nice shot there for BD8 on the 590 through the hatch. Unfortunately, did not make up the difference here as we're going to see KZ once again pick up that double kill, just managing it all with his teammate, crouching down there if he needed the support. Thankfully, both those members of BDS, like we said before, were one-shottable. So a pretty quick shutdown there for another player at full HP. Half is over, sides have flipped, and w7m now in the defense.
KZ's got the little drone blockers. I haven't got to cast with those yet, so that'll be interesting. They did the little noise thing, right? The little noise challenge, and that was like the first one. And I was like, that's Malusi's Banshee, right? Heck no.
No.
Nah, dude. Nope. Completely wrong. I haven't used one of them yet.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't watched the Siege tournament in a while, those are going to... Oh, well, not that one, because it just got destroyed. But normally, those little lines that you just saw on the ground, it basically blocks the drone's POV, is what it does. So if you have a drone on the inside here, obviously normally you'd be able to get good vision onto like this outside library hold. Now you can't. They got to move the drone past it physically, which means that the defenders can more than likely knock that drone out pretty quickly.
Very random utility.
It's good, though.
Yeah, no, I haven't got to see too much play with it, obviously, just yet. But like when they introduced it, I was like, this could definitely throw a spanner in the works. I can see how this could be a little annoying at times. So we'll see if it ends up giving any nuisance. Oh my.
Looks like it's going to work to start things out here as Hers just waits for that flash to fade away. And immediately gets the fade-off headshot there to take down Shaiko. Removes the Yana from play as well, so all that additional free drone intel is gone. Not necessarily the biggest loss from that player, but still is going to hurt in the long run here if they end up reaching a hard spot where they're not able to get a clean entry. It looks like BDS have a pretty well-asserted plan. They're going to go for the green screen plan, it looks like here, and that's the problem. You still have the hatch play to work against. They have yet to take library. JV92 is still holding this corner. Like a fact, I still think outside the window right now is trying to catch anyone peeking from connector, but they have no reason to do so.
This is just completely unhinged, John. They were not on the same page at all, and that's why they're going to get just bowled over here. EFAC, he's got the glass. He's going to try and solve things on the top floor. Does he tag him? I think he tags Hurts once. That second shot will end up downing him, so a potential 2v3 here. But now they can't give up the goods. w7m, they've gotten the hard work done, the heavy lifting over, and the response time from KZ, man, like a firefighter, springs to action, able to save his teammate and get him off the ground. It's all left up to Renshiro.
Shiro up against the possible odds. It seems that indeed will remain impossible. KZ gets himself out one final time to shut it down, and that's already a very quick map point for w7m. It's 6-1 here.
Man, feels like game's done quick right now. The speed run.
I mean, this is definitely one of the faster.
This is one of the fastest chalets we've ever casted.
Games I've ever casted.
Yeah, for sure. This is probably one of the fastest chalets you and I have ever touched.
This throws me back to like that NA LAN we did in 2019 in Vegas, where you had like 92 dream teams. That's how fast this is feeling right now. Like
drip Boolin. Isn't that when? Dude, I swear to God, that's when Doodle was playing on.
Yeah, that was like the old LG team. Yeah, what became the LG team.
Did you know that I was the coach of that team for 24 hours before ESL told me that I couldn't be the coach of that team?
No, I didn't know
Yeah, I was going to be the coach of 92 Dream Team for that entire split. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Good little meme there. But, well, this is definitely not a joke.
All right,
clearly
yeah,
with the scoreline, right?
It's basically, let's see if w7m get like the demoralizer right now, the 7-1 scoreline against BDS, winning these rounds at record pace as well. It's not really gonna, like, there's not a whole lot that BDS are gonna have to talk about is the problem because they're losing things so quickly as well.
Dude, they're trying to make Shaiko go back to his room and just like have a conversation with himself in the mirror. I'm talking to the man in the mirror. He's probably asking him to change his ways too, low-key. He's like, guys, please, it's one round. Especially just knowing how good you are, right? If you were that as talented as Shaiko, I would be so pissed off right now. 3 and 7, I mean, like, what the hell are we doing, guys? BDS, let's wake up here, folks. W7m are playing a hell of a game, though, and you cannot understate that. Really, at the end of the day, you can give some slide over to BDS, but W7m are just that talented.
Like the fact, unfortunately, with the tank rip from too far away. Oh, hold on.
Oh, my.
Impact's coming out and hitting him pretty hard, it seems.
He didn't get the middle either. Oh, John, he's in so much trouble, bro.
Oh,
You
he got down, too.
Yep, I told you. You can't do that. You can't do that.
All right, well, the good news is he should get brought back up at least. I think. No, another one got down as well. Look.
Yeah, this is really bad, John.
This is getting
I can't
messy
understand
very
how terrible
quickly
this
for
is.
BDS.
like I wish that there was like a phrase I could use.
You're
to
good.
be like,
Just go for it, man.
this is a Titanic of what can happen on Garage, basically. Like, everybody's going to be low HP. Renshiro's crawling away. They have to try and prone out to take any of these angles, and JV's just going to be able to tag anybody up that crosses this.
Herds realistically could have done that run out, too. He probably would have got a kill on that run out there. He might have gone 1-1, but...
I mean, I guess the good news is, technically speaking, is that they could, I guess, have Brede blow the panel. But the problem is that then he would only have one breach for the other side, and JV's more than likely going to try and, like, trick or just do something.
I think they're just going to switch to a wine take.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. That's the smartest bet here. You have to, especially with the timing right now.
Look.
So we'll have to see. But that also means that they have to clear out this entire portion of the building. So, uh-oh.
Speed run time for BDS here is they're going to try to clear the other half of the map with only half the round remaining. The good news is that Like Effect does at least get free main lobby stairs control to work down here, but as you're going to see, they've also got electricity sitting on at least that primary wine wall as well, so it's not an easy one they can just walk up to. From what I'm looking at, they don't actually have another EMP to work past this either. Like Effect, I'm not sure. He should have enough gas left in the tank there to be able to pop up one of these walls.
Stop holding this angle, bro. So many people are spamming that door. Please, please. That's like 4 times I've seen somebody get pre-fired off that.
Here we go. Like Effect's going to try to get at least a small opening onto the wall. The nade does land and get it down onto Herds here. That's a pretty big piece of the defensive puzzle on this immediate angle. Like Effect looks like he just wants primarily the angle to play off of here. You're going to see Shaiko be given that angle to play into, but no results as of yet other than the Herds down from before. Defensive utility still coming out as well here. Like you're seeing that Goyo canister just exploded out. It's going to bring us down. Oh, no, unfortunate. The good news is we have an in-game feed, so a little bit of a radio cast here. It's coming down to the wire. Looks like once again a lead for BDS as they've turned it around. JV92 and Filippo, the only defenders left standing here with 10 seconds left to go. Brede goes for the plant, halfway towards it, but Shaiko now responds to bring it all onto Filippo. Filippo battles his way back on his site, but no way to deny the plant, so Brede succeeds in putting it down onto the ground. It's a 1v3 for Filippo here as he pushes himself forward back into it. Filippo rounds the corner, but unfortunately cannot take control of this mantle. Brede shuts him down, and BDS stays alive for at least one more round.
All right, well, it was a sinking ship initially with all that damage coming out from the garage, but BDS able to strike true on the other end as W7m are kind of tattered from the utility usage there from BDS. The entry power pretty strong there too, as we saw Shaiko able to tag up quite a few bodies, as well as that big one over there on blue that we were talking about initially. But as you said, that will stave off the ending here of Chalet, at least for the time being. We are going to jump into a little tech break here and just make sure everything's good on our side, folks, before we throw y'all back in. But it is going to be 6-2, still in favor of W7m, obviously. A long road ahead for BDS to try and force overtime, with W7m having a lot of options here for themselves when it comes to site selection.
Good job from BDS, obviously, as we can talk more about this now, on just kind of taking a very patient step back there and being able to make that decision at the halfway mark to, okay, we're going to get a replay now too. Just rotate back around and play onto the other side of this execute. Thankfully, they had enough time to get both of these walls open as well, and once that was the case, we already saw W7m execute the same exact way towards the tail end of the first half. It worked just as strongly for BDS with both of those walls open. There's not really a whole lot the defenders can do unless you have like the full breadth of the team countering out both of those push points, which w7m could not do due to the earlier loss of one of their teammates there from that initial nade when BDS first approached that site.
w7m definitely had what it took to take that round, but BDS, understanding the default positioning of that setup, able to exploit it to its fullest. Once again, like we were saying, BDS is not a slouch team. This is not a team that even looks like the scoreline should be existing, to be honest with you, especially with the gameplay that we saw yesterday. Their team play was so unbelievably dynamic, especially on Bank. I really loved every moment of what we were seeing there. But now, BDS with an opportunity to make a little history, honestly, here at Gamers8. If they're going to bring this back and give us a show on Chalet. See if they can accomplish this, but w7m obviously trying to make sure that this map is completely forgettable, as looking to close this out in 7-2 fashion.
w7m also now falling back over here towards the dining room where we finally saw BDS able to pick up their first round on the defensive side. So w7m will be relying on some of those same strengths of this site to hopefully seal the deal on number 7 here and prevent us from going onward further into this map. The faster w7m can shut this one down, the more energy they're going to be able to preserve. Better off they'll be here for a longer series, and BDS is going to be a bit more strongly positioned for the later maps of this series, which I think might end up being the case here. Away from that, though, we've got BDS spawned in. No real surprises when it comes to the operator lineup. Very heavily focused on dealing with the insight utility. As you can see, both the Flores as well as the Bravo have been brought to the table this time around here, as well as Rensher, of course, on that line to catch any more mobile members of w7m when BDS take those critical areas of the map under their control.
Ego balcony action for Renshiro initially. Just gonna pop the window open, get some things prepped up down the line for himself. Lems will be on the Brava this time around. Past that though, a usual cast of characters. They have the Flores worked in for the very first time here, which is surprising with the amount of utility that we've seen that could have definitely been exploitable by him. Great find there from a Lems, free up the wall. It's a little bit easier for the hard breach. Top floor presence here from w7m. Saw what BDS able to do in a position like this the last time, to win out that defense. BDS, very aware of this situation. They're trying to make sure that they do not cross this bridge, making sure that there's some potential trouble around the way first.
Won't be the entry onto the inside of the window here for Lems. He spotted not only the frost mat, but a pretty brutal cross from the inside of kitchen there. So we'll be more than likely avoiding that. I think the frost mat's easy to deal with. It's just the actual hop in here. More like they need a distraction upstairs or something to be able to truly go for that one. Red Shiro, we'll check in with him in a moment. He's about 5 more hits away from knocking that thing away, so give him a second. Away from that, we are seeing a lot of hard breaks utilized here to get that office control and get it very quickly, potentially. However, w7m still with quite a bit of a player base up here. We'll be resisting it for a bit longer. KZ specifically still holding onto the inside of the master bathroom, and a few other players still hiding on the back end. This is a big nade, and indeed, it's going to land truly on top of Hertz. Takes him down. No response to come in from Filippo either, as he's also going to get dropped by Lems. Looking much more consistent here from BDS. It's taken them a long time to wind up for this swing, but w7m seem powerless to resist it now that BDS have all the necessary info to commit to the execute. Nade trying to hold back this lobby entry point, and finally a response does come through from KZ specifically. Nade does succeed in fending off that player over by main lobby, but KZ upstairs is lost on a trade. JV92 just barely survives his own cross. Back over here through Trophy. It's the cross once again. Thankfully, no attention paid to him. He goes for arguably the more risky one right there. He already knew he had a player against him from the inside of Trophy window. Job is done though. He's made it back to site, but there's still a player down, and both him as well as Nade are at low HP. This is a flip of round 6 here. Let's see if they can win it from the reverse situation. JV92 picks up the first one, but immediately goes down. Bride clean to go for the plant, and Nade a little bit lost in the sauce, unfortunately, as he just gets taken down from an off angle. That's going to be BDS continuing to recover here as they pick up another round.
There we go. Offensive mindset here on Chalet, as we would expect for this map. So, looks like BDS will have somewhat of an opportunity here, but as we've been talking about, have a big issue when you're staring down the barrel of this score line. w7m, they're going to head back towards Master and Office after that successful round there from BDS. Very strong clear on the top floor. Not only were they very capable when it came to their utility game, but as soon as it was time to push ahead, Shaiko was there. He was very, very loud. Lems with the back end hold as well really assisted them with that top end clear. BDS, though, still a little bit of a run ahead of them. Let's see what w7m are capable of in this very next round.
It's going to BDS able to kind of slow down the pacing a bit more here now that they're on the attacking side as well. Better time for analysis on w7m's position, and more importantly, time to figure out how to counter those very same positions. Works out great for BDS in that previous round, and they just need to keep on going with this. For w7m, now it's time for them to adapt, find ways to get around some of these slower setups that BDS is going for, subvert the expectations, and maybe, once again, find a round through that avenue.
Hurts. They let the castle barricade sit, so they're all thinking that they're safe in their little homes, and then they kill them.
And then meanwhile, KZ on the other side of the map is also peeking out there. Thought it was the distraction from the main bedroom, but no longer the case. Lems goes down. There goes the Lion, too, so a pretty big loss there with regards to the utility that goes down with him.
Especially when you have, oh my gosh, Chalet. Can you Chalet in play? I don't know why that was escaping me there for a second, but either way, we're going to Glass Tower, baby.
Yeah. No free window peek intel here for Renshiro on the crosses from that Lion. So,
I mean, barely anybody already crosses this, so I'll be interested to see the potential of this position here from Renshiro. Usually when this window gets opened or anything like that, especially because like he kind of gave up the goods with the lance there, right? He shot the castle barricade.
I know there's a Chalet on the side, so no one's going to peek it knowing that.
Yeah. And also,
especially with the current position he's maintaining, that's like a pixel headshot for the other side of it. So.
You are absolutely right, buddy. If I remember correctly, that the wood beam there actually does not take any bullets at all. So you are 100% correct. They actually have to slip it right through the cracks.
So a little bit of a slow lead up still from BDS because they aren't able to lock in any immediate kills on the door opening. Still obviously a few of these castle barricades to be dealt with as well. A little close there.
Shaiko was going to blow himself up there for a split second.
Thankfully he had a few extra seconds, so realizes his mistake. It's how to dodge. And once again, BDS seem relatively prepped for initial positioning to take here, but still a little bit of hesitation as they play into that more default style of attack.
I'm starting to get worried here, John. They're slowing down a little bit. We've seen what w7m is capable of in some of these situations where they're able to just get one over on BDS in a very surprising fashion, and then the rest of the round is all for naught. But Shaiko, gonna know his position because of this barbed wire smack. He's got the frag grenades as well, just one left in his pocket. w7m, though, the patience play from them. JV92 will fall back instead of standing 10 toes on that positioning more forward inside of office, which is fantastic play coming in this last minute.
w7m giving over the respect to BDS, allowing them to move in. Keep in mind, you can see those blue silhouettes down below. There is going to be an attempt to pinch out this attack when they move into the site here. Shaiko strikes true, however, on the entry and eliminates Herds on that bedroom door. He goes down. Another one picked up by Bride on the entry too. JV92 needs to respond, but no, it's another frag from Shaiko instead to eliminate JV92. Filippo and Nade, all that remain here inside of a 2v4 scenario. Plant shouldn't be interrupted here, and Nade, no way to mobilize here as well. It just has to go for the peak. Immediately, Filippo tries to work it from below, but it's the wrong position. Like a fact, already finding the hard counter to Nade as well when he peeks that window again. Filippo now left alone here in the 1v4. He's already been found out downstairs as well. They know he's working his way up either through Solarium or, of course, that front lobby stairs, and now they know for certain it's Solarium, of course, with those bullets connecting. He never even spots any of his opponents, it looks like, with the Chalet getting the final shot to shut him down. Just 2 rounds to go, and BDS will trigger overtime.
w7m timeouts, and a little discussion needs to be had there. Shaiko getting away with so very much in that round, and just goes to show once again, if you shoot for the king, you better not miss. They hit him in the chest, John. They didn't hit him in the head. A little Thanos quote there. Get things done for BDS. Gonna be looking over these highlight reels here as KZ with that first initial frag that really set the pace for w7m. And I mean, honestly, even with w7m losing the round, I do really appreciate strategically how they ended up playing things out. Very patient, able to try and put BDS into a really bad spot. But when you're playing against somebody like Shaiko, man, that's just always going to be a really difficult thing. He legitimately needed one more bullet to kill Shaiko out of that ump. That was it. And it's just those little minute details, man. You end up hitting that headshot, that's a completely different round for w7m.
Well, not going to end up being the case, so BDS continue the comeback train here. There's just 2 more rounds to go now until they seal the deal on OT. Time has expired for the timeout on w7m's side, so we're going to head back into it now. Time to see indeed if w7m can finally lock this one down. It's another kitchen defense going to be coming up from them. Already faltered on this site at least once previously. Let's see what type of adjustments they make now in order to make up for it on the second and probably last go around on this site. BDS, of course, bring a similar flair to last time. It was pretty heavily reliant on the drone clear previously, or to the utility clear. So we have both of the Brava as well as the Flores. Right now, we've just got the Flores, and then a pretty standard assortment aside from that with the Ash as well as the Yana to play on entry here. So Lem's been helping out a little bit on the kind of soft breach department. Hard breaches get swapped as well for BDS. Just a very small change that's going to come in because of that as they move over to the Havana instead of the Thermite for a little bit more ranged access. Now Ace as well, but it's continuing to evolve here for BDS. They finally do lock in as well. Lems changes one more time also with Sophia.
All right, well, the timeout's been used, and this is indeed crunch time, John. Okay, so the next round, that's when everything gets real hyphy. Lots of pressure. W7M have felt that before. Remember, this is the team that came up second SI this year. Able to finally lift a championship as well, though. This last year, too. Fantastic stuff for them. And same for BDS. Also playing extremely well throughout the year. Looking to bring it back here so far. Good drone game from Shaiko. Able to find a Wamai disc before that is eliminated. As KZ has snuck his way back in the library.
KZ spotting out the drone there, I think, in the corner, but not able to actually get it. So he will get chased out from his current position there behind the Kiba. Still has positioning to fall back upon, thankfully, so he rotates away from that. Gets himself out of dodge. Will still be able to maintain himself as a blockade against any forward crusade that BDS would try to go for. However, finally locked in, like a fact, is going to end up getting him this time around. Herds goes down first here in the W7M roster as they continue to struggle on these defensive-sided early rounds. A stark difference to what we were seeing in the first half and could be the beginning of the end of their lead here if they don't fix it soon. Thankfully, Nade's here to save the day. He'll trade that one back out, eliminates a Lems, like a fact, though, crunching. And unfortunately, KZ just has no idea it's rolling in. However, just as much for JV92 as he also sneaks up, this time on the like effect, trade it back, and more importantly, keep those player numbers even. This is great positioning from JV92. Unfortunately, it's just the decoy for the Yana, so not going to be able to capture anything immediately. Let's get another drone alongside of that, though. It's going to bring the overall count down to just 3 drones remaining for BDS. That'll be a big issue here, as they've only gotten through that kind of first phase of the round here, prompting W7M to fall back. Just 3 drones left to go here to get access to the site, and 2 out of 3 of those are sitting on Renshiro as well.
And here's the other issue. How do you dislodge JV92's utility to use your ace? The answer is you probably don't. They got the hatch open, but W7M are playing upstairs. That's their fallback strategy. Nitrocell in 2 hands too, John. This is not looking too hot for BDS, but I've said that before. BDS, they're definitely one of those teams that can prove you wrong. Let's see what they can get done here. The Mute Jammer is going to be holding things up initially, but as we were talking about, there's really no way for them to try and deal with this. He eventually finds one on the top corner, so they will get a break in the wall. I don't know if we ended up getting that Electro Claw down there. He just started to turn on, so ends up breaking up that. You'll just have the one panel here. Reday almost committing that, but then realizing the situation was right in front of him. And now with 15 seconds remaining, John, we got to get going here. Renshiro, he's going to swing for the fences. He's going to down 1, pistol out, going 6 instead. He gets him. He was going to try and go for the knife kill, but W7M take Chalet instead. It's an extended stay at Chalet. But it's W7M all day, every day for map 1.
Bit bumpy on the defensive side, mainly due to some great prowess coming out from BDS. To be fair with you, Shaiko finally redeeming himself there in the second half, but it's really the first half that's the big storyline here. W7M just crushing it at 5-1, and like we said before, with record pace as well, so fast on a round-around basis, not even giving BDS a moment to think for themselves, prompting a very early timeout, which didn't really yield results in the long run of things. So BDS certainly going to have to make up for that very quickly on maps 2 and potentially 3 if they complete the rebound there.
Although BDS was coming back in that game there, John, every single one of their players was either even, which was only one of them, and the rest were negative, including Chaiko. So that is pretty immense. Incredible showcase of what W7M is capable of, not only on Chalet, but just as a unit. You can definitely see the strategy working its way in, especially on offense. Some of those defenses were getting a little risky just with the way that the map was getting played out in between these two. But, I mean, that's just how Chalet goes, man. There's so many angles that you have to worry about, and sometimes you just have to throw it at the wall and hope it sticks.
These are some of the problems right there. You see that great replay from Hertz' POV. Members of BDS just getting jumbled towards the end of the round, not finding proper positions to play around some of the aggression from W7M. W7m with it being played so fast. That was a big issue for them. Like Stokes had mentioned though, BDS was starting to recover quite nicely, so hopefully that's a sign of better things to come as we move into deeper maps as well here. Either way though, it's W7m making a statement inside of that first half and then slowly finding that extra round or two they needed to be able to lock things down and take control of map number 1. They've got the lead here at 1-0 in this series, but they need one more to shut it down. We're gonna go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll see if they can complete the set quickly here at Gamers8.
10 seconds.
الحياة لحن، ولأننا جزء من مقطوعة عظيمة تحركنا، تلمسنا، تصنع من لحظاتنا ذكريات بديعة. لأن الوجبة، التجربة، المغامرة، حياتك بعد جديد في هيلتون الرياض.
All new Honor Magic 5 Pro. Freeze even fleeting emotions in just milliseconds. Take marvelous night shots with lightning-fast exposure. The display reveals more details in bright areas with an astonishingly long battery life that just keeps going. The latest flagship chipset brings you exceptional performance. Unleash the power of magic. Honor Magic 5 Pro.
We don't have a moment to waste. For the last few days we've been running in place. I need a vacation. Both hands holding on, but I feel it breaking. If I'm not good enough, how long till replacement? I see right through your disguise, your pretty little lie. What if I told you I know exactly what you are? What have they sold you? On that blacktop boulevard. Ooh, I'm doing damage control on my heart and my soul. Oh no, I don't need your help, said I'm good on my own. Ooh, I'm doing damage control on my heart and my soul. Oh no, I don't need your help, said I'm good on my own. Let me be free. Let me be free.
Welcome back to the second day of Gamers8 featuring R6. I'm Ginny, your host, and we got the STC takeover on the desk with Anne and Jesse. W7m just won their own map pick, and especially at the beginning, that looked incredibly one-sided.
Yeah, the beginning of the game was super dominant. Looking at their attacking rounds, there were so many rounds and moments where W7m just had a lot of red pings. It came down to an information game. The drone work was really good on the side of W7m. And people always say an unaware defender is a dead defender. So as soon as BDS were not aware of the information that W7m had, the fact that they could just walk in from lobby to bar, for example, BDS not being aware of that did really help in getting those rounds in the favor for W7m. Later on, when we did see BDS bring out the mutes and when we did see them get rid of all the drones for W7m, that's when they started winning out the singular defensive round that they did. But denying that information was huge for BDS in winning that one defensive round.
Yeah, and then when we swapped sides, you know, it looked like we might have a comeback on our hands.
Absolutely, it did.
BDS, they were starting to chain them together. It felt pretty good. I thought Shaiko was starting to fire. Really liked his entries in and around Piano. Felt like he was starting to make a lot of moves for his team. Had some good nades. Unfortunately, though, I mean, you had to be perfect on those last few rounds when you're down 6-1, and perfect is a little bit unachievable for them. Ends up kind of flubbing it that final round, not having any impact EMPs for the Claw Mute Chamber combo on the wall there from Kitchen into the fireplace room. Tough there, and Shiro kind of goes above, flubs some shots, a bit of an awkward one for him. But that's what happens when your first half is so dominant for the other team.
Yeah, there's a few times when BDS tried to execute on their attack, and you have this like checklist, but there were a few things missing from their checklist before they could actually go for the execute. But despite those things missing, they still went for the execute. That bar run, for example, as well, where they had the sense on the window with the glass on that bar window, they just jumped in without having the top 4 control, for example. Like, there was someone on the hatch watching over the sense wall, shooting the player that jumped in, and then BDS stand there like, oh yeah, there's some on top floor. There's a few things missing. Similar story with that K-Claw on the dining wall that they didn't remove before that. Another thing is, if we think back about the interviews that were done before this game, how Brede mentioned, you know, in this current meta, you need to be aggressive, you need to look for players and you will find them. That is exactly what W7M did. They heard that interview from Brede, probably was like, all right, we'll do that to you. They were just pushing, they were being aggressive with BDS, they were peeking them, and sometimes BDS were just unaware of these players pushing them, or did not have the gun skill to back it up.
BDS lost 3 rounds yesterday. So technically the amount of rounds that they won today is equal to how many they lost yesterday. And it also does bring the question where you already mentioned it earlier, and when BDS was going up against Oxygen yesterday, it was something that they had a very long time to prepare for. They knew it for a while, and they were able to counteract every single thing that Oxygen threw at them. Whereas when we're looking at them competing right now against W7M, it didn't really feel like that counterplay was present. It was more like trying to adapt, but not doing so quickly enough.
Yeah, and I also think it is obviously not to disrespect Oxygen, but it's a completely different beast, right?
Yeah.
Oxygen and BDS both did not qualify to the major, whereas that was the major that W7M eventually won, right? So when you think about that counter prep, obviously with Oxygen there may have been flaws that they've been spotting, but with the almost flawless track record of W7M, it's going to be so difficult to find those flaws and to counteract on those.
Yeah, I mean, you can't take this win away from W7M. They played perfectly throughout this game. You know, it really felt like they were working together fantastically. I thought the combo of Felipox and KZ was insane on those attacks to get those 5 rounds in the first half. You saw round number 1 to start things off. Felipox drones into the site. He finds the Solus inside a bar. Immediately, KZ's there for the follow-up to get that frag. Round number 5, they're pushing into the basement. They get the wall open from above. They get the pick from Felipox, get the wall open, and then Felipox is following KZ in through the breach, following up, getting his trades, looking at the other angles to help him out. Round 6 as well. Again, another late round execute where they're dunking nades into Laundry, finding these picks early, and then it's that long 2v3 that KZ and Felipox, again the duo, work together. They isolate these players on the side of BDS and they find those frags. I thought these two in particular working as a combo was really, really good this game.
It's really good that you mentioned those two, right? I mean, KZ is a player that we're expecting it from, but the main concern that we raised at the beginning of this game was, hey, at W7M, you have those players like Felipox, who if you think about players that would step up and carry the team, he's probably not on the very first part of that list, but he did step up. He did carry the weight of his team, whereas on the side of BDS, you have Shaiko, you have Leak Effect, you mentioned Shaiko having a slower start to the game. That can't pull up against, for example, a player like Felipox really stepping up and carrying the weight on W7M.
Yeah, I think Felipox is undoubtedly one of the most underrated players in the scene right now. I think he's so good.
Yeah, when we're looking at BDS as well, this is something that we highlighted coming into it. We said they have the duo, you have Shaiko, you have Liquefact, they're the spearheads of the entry, they're making sure the team get the space that they need to get that pressure, but the fact that W7M was completely unfazed by these players and made it so much more difficult for them to actually get it started, it does bring the question of going into the next map, which is their map pick. Can they at least bring this back and go all the way to that final Oregon?
I mean, you'd hope so coming into Bank, but you talk about W7M, a team now on a 9-map win streak, looking to extend it into double digits and lock down their spot in the semifinals tomorrow. And you look at the fact W7M now for the last couple of months, 4-1 record on maps up against BDS. I think it's a tall task, and I think BDS, they're really going to need to rely on their betterness on Bank to really work to their advantage and get themselves a win.
I was a bit concerned when we saw the footage there, and Shaiko, I think it was Shaiko sitting with his head in his hands whilst they were talking to each other. That does not look, obviously, it's not feeling the same amount of confidence as w7m did, but before that we saw w7m, they seem very comfortable, very relaxed. I wonder what's going on with BDS if they're able to mentally recover from that. They played Bank yesterday indeed against Oxygen. They only lost 1 round. I always really like BDS's opportunity spotting on Bank when you have these, for example, Amaru plays with the shotgun, which you saw yesterday as well, where they get that ground really fast, where they take control of hatches. So I hope we get to see that too, because on Chalet, it sometimes looked like BDS were a bit afraid. Yes, there were spawn peaks, but they were afraid to approach windows and doors of the building. So if that happens right now, I feel like the opportunity spotting for BDS will be a lot less, and that would be concerning.
Yeah, I think the mental state is definitely something to be taken into consideration for BDS coming into this. Last year being undefeated, not dropping a single map, that record is already out the window. You've already dropped 1 map this time around. I mean, maybe his head was in his hands because like the sun was too bright, so he didn't bring out his sunglasses. That could be the case. But again, it's BDS. It's a team that has been through a lot of adversities themselves. They should have that possibility, that mental strategy. They even have the support system behind them, so I'm not too worried of them going into Bank. But I am worried about the fact that is w7m just simply the better team on that map rather than BDS not having that chance to really show up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is not a map that W7 are unfamiliar at. They are a team that play every single map of the pool they can, right, when push comes to shove. They didn't do well at SI, 0-2 record back in the day, but since then they've gotten a 2-0 win, 2-0 record since the season started. Close game, 7-5 over Liquid, and then 8-6 also over Liquid, both coming through in the Copenhagen Major. So close games, it's not a map that they love, however, they can play it, and it's not like they're going to be completely in the dumps here.
That was the little bit of EU hopium that I would want to bring in that, because it is one of the most banned maps by w7m. So
okay.
Preference-wise, it's not the greatest. Yeah, they have a victory over Liquid, but that was pretty close. That was an overtime, so there is hope.
There is hope, of course, for BDS. But there's hope to go to Oregon at least. Let's say that there's hope to be able to push us to the 3rd map. But when we're looking at Bank as well specifically, as much as it's like, okay, BDS are maybe better, maybe w7m is better. There's a lot of different variables to be taken into consideration this time around. And it also brings a question in regards to w7m. They felt comfortable letting it through. They've probably seen BDS on it before. Do they have something in the back pocket?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing, right? BDS played this 24 hours ago. They were here against Oxygen just recently, and so there is going to be some footage. W7M, they've had the whole night. They've definitely watched that game. Their support staff have it.
I mean, people usually sleep at night. I'm just saying.
The players
I know you're a gamer.
Sleep. The coaches stay up all night. They got to watch the VODs. That's the life of a coach at esports events. That's how it is.
Only 8 rounds, so, I mean...
You're right. It wasn't a lot of footage. But still, I mean...
Rub salt in the wound. Yeah.
6 defensive rounds they did get to see coming through from BDS. There was a lot of kind of good aggressive play from LickyFax, so I'm wondering if they've got an answer to shut that down or what the plan will be from w7m.
So what are we expecting in terms of 1 or 2 things from BDS that have to come out this time around if they actually want to be able to push us to Oregon?
What I want to see change from the previous map onto this one is more opportunity spotting, not being scared of w7m, because once you give them that respect and you, obviously you got to watch for your spawn peaks and everything, but if you take a minute, or like, let's think about that downstairs attacking round where they took so long to get the breach, they got 2 injuries outside the breach, 2 people on BDS got injured, they got really passive and really scared after that. If you give them that respect, w7m will take it and they will be even more aggressive towards you. So more opportunity spotting, more confidence.
Yeah, and I want to see Alems because he really did show up to the same extent that we saw yesterday, earlier today. So if he comes back, has a really good game, that could be enough to push them back, force us to that map 3, get us to Oregon.
Forcing it to map 3 and getting to Oregon, that is the dream. Can BDS crawl back and defend their title, or will w7m showcase that they are indeed the true titans of the game? Let's find out as we're heading into Bank with Sam and Blue on the mic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, map number 2 getting teed up right now. Let's drop into it and see if w7m can complete a quick 2-0, or is BDS going to continue on their path to recovery with a rough start to the first half on Chalet, but a nice recovery in the second half, nearly taking it to OT after being down 1-5. Things end 7-4, if memory serves me correctly. So let's see if they can improve on that at all. Maybe even send us to a map 3. Bans are coming in, and so far repeating for BDS, as Dokkaebi is going to be the first ban from them again.
Just too strong, man. Like we were talking about earlier, she has everything under the sun and the kitchen sink. at her disposal to remove her from play. Habana will also be dislodged as she's just so dang good at playing around the hatch play on any map that really revolves around that, and that's definitely one of the central pillars of Bank's gameplay. Valkyrie's going to be removed from the defensive end, a very stalwart character that we usually see brought every single dang round, John. She's so good on this map as well because of those high vaulted ceilings, a lot of places to hide those cameras, so a very solid ban. Now let's wrap this up with the bow, shall we? BDS is going to get rid of Solus, probably one of the smartest characters to remove in the current meta.
Pretty heavily being used in that previous map as well, most notably by BDS, ironically enough there, but w7m.
It's a Shaiko mainstay as of right now too. He's kind of switching back and forth between that, some Azami play, and then you kind of have your sprinkle of ops, you know, past that.
Too dangerous of a map, though, I think, to allow Solus to have freedom, just considering how roam-heavy this map can be on some of the other sites, except for this one here. So I think that's just a policy the BDS want to deploy towards, to not give w7m that freedom.
You say that, but I guarantee you we see the delay inside of open area. Not that there's actually going to be any engagement. The pressure will come from the offense, the defense will fall back. It'll probably be around like a minute 25, minute 30 seconds. We'll see how just dang good I am at my analyst job here in a second, John. As BDS is going to be setting up the map, this is looking very similar to what we saw against Oxygen yesterday for their downstairs defense, with some of this more central floor play out of BDS, just trying to murk the waters up a little bit for w7m before they enter the building.
No surprise when it comes to what we're seeing here in the opening few moments. Of course, we're going to have that Warden added in for Renshiro just to be able to counter out some of the more flashy type of entry power we would tend to get from w7m, although not looking like we're actually going to get a whole lot of that to start things out here. Just the 2 sets of smokes coming in from Nade that he's going to be able to work against, but even that will be a good potential counter for him, especially if he's going to be deployed against that wall on the left side of the screen right now. The red hallway here is where he'll more than likely play when push comes to shove in the late round there, and hopefully we'll be able to use the strength of the smart glasses from inside of that position.
We saw the cadence of w7m in that last map. Ooh, you and I talked about the fact that once the play starts for w7m, once they get into this round, they never stop. They're always actively doing something. They never take that moment to really just step back and completely shut down their own play to reset. They don't really utilize that portion of play, which honestly, I am a huge fan of. I love the fact that w7m constantly keeps the ball rolling. Even if sometimes it is to their detriment, it does work out extremely well for them because they can catch people off guard. They can make huge plays like what we're seeing right now. BDS has no idea that anybody is inside of Gold Vault, that Yokai gets eliminated. Goyo, a lot of damage onto him, or rather Fenrir. So bounce back over. Well, Man Bun got a hold of me there. Short hair, man, I'm telling you. Filippo, though, rather Felipox will be able to take him down. Look, in fact, I'm going to trade things out. And w7m, although a burst of speed into Gold Vault, John, it seems to have landed on deaf ears.
However, they do have at least lockers to try and go for a plant. Uncertain if this is going to work out. Here comes the cross from Shaiko. They hear it coming from a mile away, but the shots from w7m are just missing left and right now. Another opportunity lost. Filippo able to recover things a little bit once more as he catches Lycofac, I believe, rotating through the vault or coming from upstairs. Nade also trying to catch a player on the top of the server's vault and will indeed get that. Lems goes down. We're on even numbers. It's a very odd round for multiple reasons right now, but w7m seems to be rounding it back into their corner from the looks of things. This position from Renshiro, however, inside of Small, could flip it right back into the hands of the French roster from BDS.
Oh, here we go. Minute left. They can do everything with these drones right now. They know where Shaiko is, but they really need to confirm that the other player is not on site. If they're able to at least get things in Gold Vault in like office area, they know that Renshiro is more than likely not in this area and that they have to be aware of his positioning in other places. But I think they might have oversaw this, John. Indeed, Renshiro, he slips through the cracks, but Felipox, a triple kill for him. Bomb in hand and the time to plant. What is Renshiro's action? He's going to drop in. Oh, this plant stick from... No! Felipox, he had it! He's going to have to stick it again, and Renshiro's already downstairs. He's got the Nitro, so he can play the soft wall on the outside. This is so dangerous right now. He got it down. Oh my goodness gracious. Somebody just make the right action. Like, what do I even say? Like, just do anything correct. BDS. Somebody, anybody. Felipox has gotten the bomb down. Renshiro's got the cross angle and the opportunity. Here it is. Back and forth on the brick wall. In we go. Renshiro low HP. No Nitro, so obviously he burned that earlier. Works his way in on the office door side, rather.
10
Oh my
seconds.
gosh, round and round we go, John. He kicks it back and right into the spray pattern. He's taken down from the pre-fire. W7m keeping it close. Renshiro, just really no clutch gene in that moment either. Did not want to try and step up. Even when Felipox ended up getting off that case, that was just such an awkward moment.
Yeah. With the exception of the last play there, Felipe did a great job playing that up until the final few moments, but aside from that, that was just such an awkward round from so many different perspectives. The round constantly turning itself one way or another because of a missed shot opportunity or two here, but like I said again, Felipe was the shining star that made up the main difference here and allowed for W7m to not only stay in the round with a fighting chance, we saw him pick up so many kills throughout the course of it, but then to finally clutch it out inside of the 1v1 as well. There, beautiful stuff from him. As Indeed, I think, ends up with a quad kill here at the end of the round.
Fantastic stuff here from W7m. Get things going on bank. A very interesting round, especially with how that opened up. It really didn't seem as though W7m was going to have anything left in the tank to try and get it downstairs. And that's why it was just such an awkward moment when it came down to the nitty-gritty details inside of that 1 versus 1. Just very awkward situation in between the two. KZ. Renshiro goes searching on the window, and, well, he does find something, doesn't he?
It's going to be a player trying to deploy, as you can see there. You can see a little bit, a few shots going into that very far right side window. It's more than likely where those shots come through, and Renshiro unfortunately gets down from. So a solid start to the round here on number 2 for W7m. Not going to be any immediate response coming in from anybody on BDS, and it doesn't look like we're going to see anyone try to go for it either necessarily. Still some roam game to be played out, of course, here on open area. Kind of goes without saying, just given the nature of the site. If you try to play this one with all 5 in the site, I bet you good money it's probably not going to go very well. But even with the outstretched positioning here from BDS...
I was just about to say, I was like, this is the worst time to reference
it does not seem like it's working anyway, because now they're down 2 here, and still only with that little bit of damage traded onto KZ to start us off.
Yeah, W7m are showing us what we saw in round 1 of Chalet, where they just eviscerated BDS on their rotations from that top floor. And yet again, different map, same details. W7m with 2 big picks. KZ the only one with any damage on him, and all they've given up, John, 4 drones. That's it.
Much more solid start to things here. Up to a very bumpy beginning to the road.
Okay. Sledge, I want to know how you get that much leverage on that position to actually smack that floor.
Just don't ask the physics department how that
Oh, we would just topple over off that table.
I think he got a concussion from doing that in reality. His head just slams into the floor as he does that. They are going to try and look for this player down below, however. As you can see. Onto that right now.
Oh,
Shaiko! Shaiko realizes it. Gets the better of KZ, trading out his opener from earlier on. Still going to be down a player, unfortunately, but obviously much more palatable here, especially if Lycofact finds the timing to swing for a move on main stairs there and potentially catch the players holding stock. It's going to very quickly reverse the fate of BDS and put them right back into the money for this round.
Does he know? Does he know? I don't think he knows. Does he know? Oh, Shaiko knows. Huge nitro sell out of him, and they've let Shaiko do what he does best. Bring something into this round, make it difficult for his opponents. This is winnable for BDS, even though they are down to just this lone man rotation out. They know where he is, though. That's going to make the fight a little bit more difficult. They did have a chance there if that initial engagement went well, because that rotation on the back end definitely needed that assist, but W7m, they're just too dang good when it comes down to moments like this, and it's going to be 2 rounds in a row, and again here, for their maps, since they're starting off on the right foot.
Nice heads-up play there from JV92. Knew they needed to take care of Shaiko. He's getting away with far too much from that open area position there. So finally deployed himself back into the small office of JV92. Just decided to drop down the hatch before he could get too safe and finish him off, because they already knew he was somewhat.
No
There's
way.
the opener as well. KZ, just a double tap to take care of his opponent. Nade also getting a Lems. We missed that one from up on top. It was Shaiko, like we said before. That was the real problem maker here for BDS. Getting away, that was a beautiful one. Nicely
Dude, Nade
done.
had full HP on that. What is that spread luck?
That's crazy that ended up getting the full kill, but of course he's going to take that to the bank every single day if it's given to him. But unfortunately, it could not make up enough of a difference with the rest of his teammates failing to perform there.
You know, we had Oppenheimer live right here. That's crazy. Just threw a nuke at him. My God. I actually cannot believe Nade died there.
Yeah, that is pretty insane. Now that we saw that, I thought for sure it was just a usual like stick it to the ceiling and ended up getting him there. But no, like he said, that was like a mid-air kill on it. So bit of luck going the way of Shaiko to make that one happen, but all good.
That's something that would only happen to Shaiko.
I think it worked because I think the floor was already breached, so it probably just went through because of that.
Well, it's not only that, like that honestly, at the end of the day, really doesn't matter. What matters is that the randomness of the shrapnel from the explosives in the game. So nukes are also
again. That's 2 in a row now.
What?
This one even? That had to be.
Where did you?
No, he's right in front of him. Look, yeah.
He just flew right through copy, and no one was aware of anything. He just shot the guy on rotation in small offense. Oh, guys. Oh, BDS.
That's crazy that KZ got that much control early on. He just went right in through copy, as you said. Just,
especially for BDS.
Like Renshiro's there to challenge him, but it just happens so fast that he falters to it, unfortunately. And now I believe he's just sitting back in the corner there in open office and waiting to see if Lycofac or anyone else is going to rotate into that one.
So yeah, I know you don't want it.
Yeah,
come over my neck of the woods, see what happens. Bang, 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 everybody gonna die. We like to have fun here, folks. And so does W7M, as we're going to be flying into the windows here more than likely pretty soon. The Candela's out, the smoke's just to break up the line of sight. They're going to plant directly on the window so the glass can overwatch it. No nitro cells in anybody's hands except Alem's, but he's nowhere near close enough to try and prevent this from going down. But actually, Nade, he's going to cancel that. He's going to move things off. The glass actually ends up getting taken out. Fleetpox will die on that window, so that was the little bit of tidbit of information that we did not receive there. At least I didn't. So we playing off those windows, but this is going to at least stagnate the round for now. And he's going to need some pretty serious help here. Oh, KZ. Up the hatch we go. Alternative angle here, John.
And Herds just swinging right in. Bride none the wiser to it as well. A second angle given over, but this time Alems gets the better of it, but immediately KZ finds a separate exchange kill, and he rotates back in to take care of the last threat in Alems as well. Once more, bit of a bumpy ride in the site, but W7M still, for the large majority of that round, in control of the situation, and they give themselves a 3-0 lead for the second map in a row now.
Man. This is just such incredible play from W7M. They never overplay their hand, man. It never happens.
They just have such clean attacks.
Dude, it reminds me of just those top tier RTS players where just everything is just absolutely perfect that's happening on the map. It's just disgusting from W7M. Like, yeah, they're able to pick this up. Nice kill from Bride there. That's why we didn't see it. It was a little smoke frag there. But, I mean, W7M are able to recoup so quickly. And you saw the patience from Nate. He doesn't force anything. He holds his angles, uses a little bit more of his utility to try and bide some time for his teammates, try and wrap around, rotate, get themselves positioned as to what they want to do. And once the team is ready, that's when they strike. And again, like, the conversation that has to be going on for this team to be accomplishing this time and time again cannot be understated, guys. This is one of the best teams in the world right now.
Amazing coordination from W7M on the attacks here so far, and it is showing in the scoreline. Like you said, 2 3-0 leads in a row here, going on Chalet, and now onto Bank as well. Does not seem like it's going to show much of a sign of slowing down. Important difference this time, BDS felt the rounds were close enough to where they did not need to go for a tactical timeout like they did on the first map here, even though they've once again gone through their full rotation. This would normally be the times this team would call for a tac timeout just to get the kind of initial input from their coach anyway, but they don't want to waste it this early on, seeing as they also struggled with their attacks to some extent too, so maybe wanting to save that for a more dire situation later in this map. Regardless, though, they do still rotate back to the expected site here on the inside of the basement. This was obviously a very sloppy round last time from both teams, really. It was just, like I said before, it was really Felipe, that saved the day and multiple times on that round. So not going to necessarily be able to rely on that 2 times in a row. Let's see how W7M look to kind of patch things up a bit better.
Yeah, I was a little too jet-lagged to take that one seriously at the end of that round. That got a little too raunchy for me. Things were just going back and forth in such awkward ways. Oh, man. But
it kind of was going to get sloppy, though, given the fact that W7M just went directly for an elevator hatch drop like 30 seconds into the round. So that was kind of, they more than likely knew that that was going to be the way it played out. This time,
we had an inkling early that things were going to be messy, right?
It's going to be a little bit different this time. We know this already. Nate's bringing the Montaigne into play. They're going for a slow clear on server. This should be much more traditional so far.
Renshiro's got the rook out as well. It's not something that we see too often. He's going to at least guarantee that everybody gets downed in this round. I believe they'll be able to pick themselves back up as well, if I'm remembering that correctly. So a little bit of a change up there for that, as well as a change up for these rounds that we've been seeing so far. Shaiko's the first one to get a big kill, and it's on to one of the most impactful operators across the board that W7M had access to. It's going to be the Yank. So those flashes will no longer be at their disposal.
Yeah, huge early pick to be able to knock out the Candelas this early on as well. No one really with anything else to make up for that. They just have the 3 flashes sitting on KZ, which are KZ. Yeah, they're just going to not really make up the difference. He needs to save those to burn out ADSs and whatnot inside of the site. The laser gates as well that have been brought up by Bride. So we'll really use those for their initially intended purpose. Let's see how it works. Thankfully, still having hard breach in the pocket of Nade. They'll be able to open up that first angle, but they'll lose another player in the process. Felipox finally being the first player on W7M once again here on the basement attack to trade things out as he finds Shaiko. Locking him down for this round, but still down a player overall, and not really a lot of confidence to make this plant play from server just yet. They're going to go for it soon, though. As you can see, Nade opening up the plant hole now. Hopefully no nitros as well to come in from the defense, but there is another obstacle here. That little ADS will sit in the way. Nade will just burn his drone, though, in order to get rid of it quickly here and hopefully allow for him to plant. But as you can see, there's another obstacle. We do have that camera on the wall. I think it was just knocked out by the Gun 6, so hopefully denying the vision. They're more than likely expecting there to be a nitro or two on this team, so that may explain some of the hesitation right now. But as far as I'm concerned, they're probably good to go for this at any point here.
Where's the two
Felipox especially
bulletproofs?
getting the second
Oh,
entry.
no.
No Overwatch on the garage,
They have two
apparently.
bulletproofs, too?
Mentioned. Yeah, he's going to walk right up, get a second kill for free. Now they've got a pinch. No one can really hold the far edge of Red Hall or the site doorway. Again, Nade has everything he needs to go for the plant. And with KZ also flank watching for him, I see no reason to delay this any further on the side of W7M.
KZ has to play downstairs or take control of this top hatch. Alemza is going to be up top. They now know the positioning and understand it. EFAC can't fit in through that hole. The Monty going to start pushing it back. KZ with a huge win upstairs. They now have the hatch control. And this is going to be a problem for EFAC as well. Actually, that one is indeed sealed. He's going to drop in the back end, but it's going to be a big trade here. EFAC pre-fires down. Felipox doesn't have the case as that's going to be over inside of the server base. EFAC will rotate around here, a massive rotation, but he's calling it on the ball, John. This is something that you want to see out of your players. Just make the play, man. If that's what you feel like, that's what you must do. He's going to go for the drop now. He knows that he's got to be planning inside of server. Very minimal time, and EFAC, he gets it done on the rotation. A triple kill for him and BDS with their first round.
Beautiful stuff once again there. Again, like we saw in round one, Felipox having to try and be the hero there. Rest of the team just not able to pick up the slack here when it comes to those basement attacks. And unfortunately, that will finally cost them a round. Same scoreline. We're in for a big repeat of what we saw back on Chalet right now, as we've got that same 3-1 scoreline repeating itself. Shaiko, as we can see, are getting away with a lot inside of the early round two. That's such as that free pick hop out from the inside of Copier. And Shiro, a nice angle to finally counter out some of the aggression from Garage. But it was, again, the lack of a follow-through on that because they got that first pickup in Garage. That kind of explains why there wasn't a whole lot of Overwatch there later in the round, because they already killed someone from that side, thought they wouldn't dare to send a second player. That's what allowed Felipox back in, but unfortunately just couldn't bring the clutch to bear for a second time.
Unlucky circumstances, the way you cut it. For both of these teams, honestly. BDS with some fantastic plays to be able to elongate that round, keep themselves alive, make that moment magical there for EFAC. He's able to pick that up. Have a big change up here for BDS as well, as they'll work the Vigil back in. We saw this utilized yesterday on their bank play as well, but a heck of a different strategy when it came to their operator lineup. Vigil's the only one coming to bear from what we saw previously, where they were running a Mute as well as a Solus that are practically just the ragtag trio when it comes to trying to deny information and just be a nuisance around the map. And that's what EFAC will be looking to do, is he's currently positioned himself in the top of square.
A little confidence boost coming the way of BDS by finally closing down on that round, but they still have to deal with the reality of these other sites still being very much under the control of W7M as far as the first run is concerned here. That said, though, hopefully that confidence boost when he's out on basement is going to give them enough of a push forward here to fight just a little bit more strongly on these offsites as well. Locking rounds 2 and maybe even 3 for the total tie at halftime. W7M taking things a little bit more slowly on the approach this time, trying to see if they can get cheeky with their angle and repel work to catch any rotations from BDS, but not looking likely based on the initial clear. Hertz has already taken stop control. Here we go, though,
nice.
Over on the main stairs. Like EFAC thought he could get away with a drop down on the banister, but it does not work out. Hertz takes him down before he fades away. That'll be a clean opener coming in from our attackers.
Kind of surprised that drone's still alive next to that breaching charge, but a little off subject, but that's
explosions haven't really working the way we thought they would so far in this round.
Oh, man.
I mean, that nitro cell in round 2.
I was gonna say, Shaiko's just putting some extra powder in those things or something. I don't know, man.
Oh
my God! No one is covering them.
They thought it was safe. A huge blunder from W7M. And now they're on the losing end of this round so far. Thankfully, they've got quite a few heroes here that could save the day, and we're looking at one of them right now. Felipox may have to go huge yet again. Him, JV92 or Nade. One of the three of them wants to come out here, hopefully with a double kill or better. BDS now with the player count advantage due to that great play from Shaiko. They have retaken the top stock control. Shaiko did not stick around to cause even further problems, thankfully, for w7m, but still, the player deficit may very well just be enough for BDS to lock this one in now.
Yeah, this is the most detrimental round I've seen from w7m throughout this series so far. That error cannot be overstated. That was just something very critical to w7m's entire round and the future of round 5 and their success in it. So now BDS, a little bit of punishment here. Lems will end up getting taken down by GP92's Selma charge, because why the hell not?
Really, obviously got down a lot earlier than that, but
indeed,
you guys saw that, the spray coming through the hatches, the Selma got the last bit of damage. Either way, Shaiko down hit heavily. Bride does have one of the players on w7m blinded out. That's more likely to be Nade going down, but Philippe again there to trade it down. Renshiro maintains control for the Frenchies, however. Knocks out JB92, just Philippe now in the 1v2, and unfortunately locked out of sight. Good shots going on to Renshiro, but can't lock in the kill. Renshiro seals the deal on one final frag for BDS to lock in round number 2. 1 round away from the tie now as we go into round number 6.
Well, it was looking very scary for BDS at the start of Bank, but finally able to bring things back into the light and a potential to tie things up on their defensive end. w7m obviously can split at 4-2, but that's pretty traditional here for Bank. And once again, this play from Shaiko. You just wonder where the info game is, where anybody's cover for E2 is. It's just very surprising that w7m let that slip through the cracks.
More mistakes being made, and BDS finally able to capitalize on those mistakes, those holes in the defense as well. Lends credence them getting back into the series here. Eventually pushing us to that map 3. 3-3 overall halftime scoreline. Very much in the cards if they can lock in one final hold here, which is actually going to go to Archives. They played second floor last time, did not work out too well. w7m took control of the site far too quickly, so they're going to instead once again try to rely on the extra extensions that the Archives hold downstairs is going to allow them to kind of extend this round timer out naturally here. w7m with an interesting pickup here is they are going to bring both the OSA as well as the Sense into play here. So this is more likely going to be a very pre-decided execute that they'll try to line up for.
Well, last time we had Sense, it didn't make sense. Got to toss that light screen in and immediately got shot in their face.
Well, the bigger problem there was they never had library control. I think if they had library control, that round would...
Are you telling me that you should probably have vertical control on Game Bar on Chalet?
They kind of were just like, all right, we got to do something.
John, you should start coaching, man. That was sarcasm, folks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, okay?
JB's quickly going to open up the main elevator hallway upstairs just to give him the angle to the inside. Once again, limit those rotations from the defense. Not playing too heavily into that, so probably not going to yield a whole lot this early on here from w7m. Lems is keeping a watch out for those repel points, though, making sure he's giving himself the best chance to catch any of these players if they try to spring forward. It's going to be Herds, though, once again, leading the charge. The timing just a little bit off for him. Unfortunately, stuck around for their second or two. Good chance he might have gotten a peek from that player top main. Does not end up working out. Lems is being annoying as he can be here with these Kivas, just trying to block out any of the drone presence. The nades work their way through, and Lems does get down by KZ, I believe, on that repel. Herds now bursting through into meeting as well. This player here, this time, Leichenbach played that position, that same exact position, actually, a few rounds back, I think from the first floor, and unfortunately died that time, but is able to make up for it here on his second attempt. Able to use that fallback position much more proficiently on the second go-around.
Man, everybody's just reviewing the Dirk fade, man. Everybody hitting their NBA shots, it seems, over these last couple days. It's the second fade that we've seen in 2 days, so very well done. What a position to do that off of as well. I saw him go for it earlier, like you were discussing. He went for the exact same thing, tried to get the
he got pushed from stock last time, though, so it didn't work as well.
Yeah, he got caught during the drop, too, which is super unfortunate. But either way, it works this time. Equalizes the man count. Huge nitro cell, and I mean, now it goes rather impact, actually. I was going to say, it didn't deal nearly as much damage as I thought it would have. Shaiko take quite a bit of damage back onto himself. Pistol out, KZ trying to influence this as much as possible, but Shaiko still has bullets in his SMG. He'll shoot back.
And he's still shooting as he finds a second kill out of that scenario as well. Philippak's the next to go down here. w7m suddenly looking a little bit worse for wear on this attacking side when they were second to none, at least back in the first map and for the beginning rounds of this second map as well. JB92 tries to make up for it, but can only go 1-for-1 as the immediate refrag comes in from Renshiro. Beepers. Nade is all that remains here at full HP. Might be able to get away with 1 or 2 here. And very well could get away with a plant as well. The angle's not going to work out from those. The pitch comes in from the main stairs, and by extension, Archives there. Shaiko claims 1 more kill for, I believe, 3 total on the round. And indeed, locking in a 3-3 scoreline also. Excellent rebound by BDS. They've officially tied up. Let's see if they can take the lead for the first time in this series.
What a defensive half from BDS. A massive bounce back from them. As w7m, it seemed like everything was just par for the course. They were simply walking through Bank and walking through BDS, but ever since we saw BDS gather that very first round, it seems like they've finally awoken a fire inside of themselves, especially after that big play from Shaiko, where we saw him get a triple kill, I do believe, on the last round as well, past this one. So it's big stuff for him. BDS overall, Shaiko really making the most out of that defensive half. Still cannot get over that flank, especially on the top floor. But we'll cross that bridge later on when we look at the highlight reel. Now we're into round 7. We're going to switch sides. w7m on the defense, and they're going to choose the basement.
Keep on the sword, w7m was struggling a little bit back on Chalet. The defensive rounds nowhere near the strength that we saw out of the attacking side. So BDS very much still in this map, and as well in this series here with them having completed the time before we even hit that switch now. Let's see if w7m's going to feel a little bit better with their defensive holds. Thankfully, as we go to a map where the defensive side does get that extra strength to build up here, especially on this site here for basement. This might give them a little bit of an extra boost here to at least start off the half. Very heavy on the delay comp, though, as we have both of the Goyo canisters going onto the walls by server on top of KZ, still playing into the smoke here. Zero is going to come out for the first time in this series as well here. We'd seen him get banned out previously when BDS had to go over towards this map and play into one similar to this one, because they didn't want Oxygen getting their handle on this very same operator. This time they're going to take the mantle. Use him a little bit here to try to get some extra intel about what's going on towards the main lobby. They know that w7m likes to play out and about, even on this basement site. And they want to avoid any pitfalls of that early on here. As you can see, 2 out of 4 of those SAM cams being used in the opening moments. Felipox, though, beautiful timing on his Nitro, chucks it at a J, and says an early bye-bye to Shaiko before he can make his impact on this round.
Got his back in blood. There it is. Nitrocell earlier taking out one of w7m's key members, and this time around they'll explode Shaiko, which has been by far and away the best player that we've seen on BDS here today. Which is honestly incredible to say, because Brede yesterday was playing lights out, man. I really appreciated everything we saw out of him. EFAC as well. Alim's not really lighting the world on fire, but really didn't need to. EFAC, though, he gets bodied by w7m. An impact out from Nade. We got soft destruction too, folks. When it comes to this defensive side.
A little bit too much time spent in that position, unfortunately, for EFAC. He has to back away from it. Unfortunately, does not do so, prompting for w7m to quickly collapse on that position and overwhelm him with, I believe, 3 players trying to pursue his death at some point during that fight. No way he's able to survive it, unfortunately, in that central position on the map, so he does get bled out. And another one that's going to get down here as well.
Oh my.
All right, well, the good news is we have that other feed, folks, and we should be able to switch over to it in just a moment here, so give us a second. The site fight has not really begun yet. We can see BDS still trying to work themselves up to it, but they're also in a 1v5.
Yeah,
it's Brede versus the world right now, so not a very interesting round
1v4
for you guys to lose the feed on you. So you're going to see it right here. Brede picks up 1 more, but ultimately Felipox is right around the corner to trade that one back out.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything. A Goyo canister really killed somebody on entry, and that was the entire round.
Round was pretty much over by the time we cut out of it. Anyway, you saw the last real impactful kill before we unfortunately got glitched out of game. Give us a second and we should be able to jump right back in. We'll resume the game as usual, of course. But w7m now back in control of the lead, but obviously, again, only by that 1 round right now. So a very delicate lead for the time being.
That entire round just reminded me of when Percy Jackson went in the labyrinth and everything's just like all the walls are moving and everything.
That's a reference.
Yeah, there you go, right? A little deep cut there for you.
I know.
Great books, by the way, if you guys haven't read those. Kind of, you know, it's a teen/child series, but it's fantastic, man. Definitely one that I still need to reread again. But yeah, I mean, you can just you can see
the movies are in Disney Plus.
They're about to remake the movies as well, actually, funny enough. But you can
just make them.
They made them like 10 years ago that they were trash. Remember? They were really, really bad. But that's besides the point. What I was getting at is that w7m are constantly manipulating the map mid-round and making it to where things are completely different than what BDS thought initially, and that makes things extremely difficult. A perfect case in point, right? Tellers, with the position there from Azami on Marble Stairs. That's just one thing that you're never really going to calculate in your head. until you hear an explosion to your right side, and then you're dead. So it's just one of those things where W7M are playing chess, and BDS were playing a little bit of checkers in that first round.
That's the problem as well with BDS having these very like solo-centric entries that they were going for, like back very much off on an island.
It works for Shaiko, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
every single time.
That's Shaiko, right? Yeah.
Shit,
only certain players really are able to properly work that kind of solo playstyle, in my opinion. It's a very short list that can do it. Not exactly.
And he's right at the top.
yeah, Shaiko's right at the top. I'd say like Laxing was another one.
Oh yeah, I'd probably say Laxing is probably second, honestly. I can't even really think of another person that is just like, you just send him in, you're like, yeah, they'll be
just
fine.
like you just trust them basically to do it the proper thing.
I'm on jet lag brain, but that's really all I got right now.
Away from that, though, W7M still looking good here with that most recent round falling under their control. BDS is going to try to change things up a little bit. Like Fact is going to bring back the Nook here as well. So we'll see, even with the recent changes that was made to Nook, if it's going to be still effective, as I think we saw this played into a few other series as well yesterday. So certainly not dropping the pick rate on this operator too much just yet. We're going to be paying close attention to that, obviously, with the big changes that just came in.
Well, the Nook's going to work her way back in. Ever since that nerf, we haven't been seeing her nearly as much, John. She still is able to avoid the cameras, but she is 100% audible now, which honestly, pretty crazy change in my mind. I'm surprised that they didn't just like cut her audio, you know, up by half or something like that and make it to where it was just a little bit more easy to hear. But that's besides the point. She's still definitely potent character. She has frag grenades, and if you guys have watched any of our B-roll content here at all, you'll know that really all you need on a character on offense is frag grenades, and we will play them. That's really it. Frag grenades are the best offensive piece of utility in the entire game because it makes it to where you can get rid of a lot of utility, dislodge somebody, kill somebody.
It's an insta-kill without actually having to peek your opponent. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty straightforward about why that's so useful in Siege. Right now, like Facto, focusing on trying to knock out the utility with those nades. I think he missed the first one. I think I saw a slight jolt of electricity coming from him.
It's an electric claw, so they're probably going to be up towards the ceiling as well, which might make things a little bit more difficult and hurts. Ooh, nade there.
Anyway, though, stock wall now being open.
Impact?
Keep an overwatch for that. Nope, does not go through. It does stop the second breach, though, after the first one implodes. So they're at least going to be able to prevent that. But the angle work is what was important there. Once they get the first one open, that's the goal achieved. Now, Lems and Renshiro strike true to knock out KZ and Hertz from the defense. 3v5 already enabled. Philippux at low HP as well from an earlier fight he got involved in. Is going to try to sneak forward here. It seems they've got some Breed. No! Oh, there we go. Finds the head, but can't get out of there quickly enough. Breed is available for the trade. Shaiko did get downed, although no confirmation coming in just yet. He may very well be able to back up and revive himself. JV92.
We go again.
He's going to get caught here if he tries to peek this. They're watching it. You can see the silhouette at the other end of it. And there you go. Breed shutting it down for his second kill on the round. Nade is all that remains now against what's probably going to be a 1v4, as there's nothing stopping Shaiko from getting revived, and they don't even need him. Like Fact shuts us down yet again, and it's BDS to tie us up for a second time now at 4-4.
BDS slowly coiling around the site, not overplaying their hands, not dedicating themselves too harshly to something to where W7M can get those extremely impactful kills, and they're able to tie things up here. Yet again, now for BDS, the opportunity has finally arisen, John. They have a chance to take the lead. Had it on the first round, but it's not the case. Now, yet again, an opportunity. Could be a big moment for them as well. It's something that they desperately need. What a kill coming out that window.
Just got slammed there.
Yeah, practically instantaneously. His body didn't even leave the window. It just sat in the window.
Saw that one coming a mile away from the rappel there. So not the best run out, unfortunately, from Hertz. He has had success earlier in the series with those, and I think earlier in this map too. So he does have some credence to try going for that. Just probably going to think twice about it next time, given the way that one went. Either way, though, like I said before, tie game. Now BDS back into this one. Going to change up a few things with their lineup as they work into it. W7M has gone to the open area hold here, and they've spotted a few things, which is going to prompt a couple exchanges from them. The Buck being swapped in instead of a hard breach here, since obviously we're on open area. You don't really need the hard breach all that much going into this one. The secondary on Breed is going to be more than enough. You need to open up like that big wall panel right there.
Especially for the hatch, if they usually place that upstairs, because you're really looking to try and...
soft anyway, so the Buck can take care of that.
It looks like they're going to be breaking up a lot of this top floor and probably just holding that down. Might be a rotation because they have the mirror there, so they can just play the mirror in towards the janitor closet, keep the other panel open there. We'll just have to see, because there's also some risk involved in that as well with some of the angles that can be played in towards the soft wall.
To open up the copier here. More than likely not going to see any fall.
He put it on the other side? I think he did, didn't he?
What's up?
I think he did put that mirror on the other side there for Janitor, but we're going to have to see from the opposite. Yep, he did indeed. So he's going to have to worry a little bit about his back end and that left paneling there for the soft. But, I mean, it's still a very, you know, hallmark strategy that we see pretty often with Mira, whether it be in pro play or casual play. She's always a very solid spot, or rather solid pick for this spot.
Lems bringing the Brava back as well. This should have been the last piece of utility that would have stopped him from trying to go for at least a little bit of copier control. Another one here as well. That's 2 of them gone now.
And we didn't even see the first portion of that. He might have got all 3.
Yeah. Very, very true. Looking at it, though, it looks like he survived with the other 3. Just looking at the utility mark there, but okay. 2 kills coming in as we see an attempt to push in through E, and team kill, though, flips it back the other direction. Like, in fact, sneaks in over here through Beepers as well, but thankfully there's a rotate to save the day from KZ. Philippox picked up the next one on a lamb. Shaiko as well, getting peppered through the wall. He'll take a headshot before he goes down, though. That's if he's going to go down here. The 1v3 set against him. You got to throw that nade soon. Oh! The timing onto Philippox finishes him up. We've got another player low. This could bang in the right direction. No, won't make the impact this time around. But Herds, I believe, is the player downstairs, is going to be incredibly low. And indeed, that's the case. Herds wraps away from this one, goes for the main stairs rotate. Nade may need to drop down and stop this plant. Shaiko will get away with it at the minimum here. Now the clutch comes through. However, the first down is there. Shaiko, does he give us the 1v4 clutch? So close on this angle. Nade needs to shut it down. He's got a lot of time to work it, so he does not need to force himself into this peak just yet. But Shaiko has now changed position, reveals himself, but cannot lock in that headshot, unfortunately. Kiba barricades to block Shaiko off of all things in the peak. No! The clutch will be denied by Nade, and w7m just barely survived that round to take the lead back again.
Oh my gosh, dude, I felt like a machine there. I was like, I'm starting to get nervous. Like, oh my gosh. Whew. What a round out of Shaiko. And although he looks defeated, I mean, my God, man, what a talent.
It was so close there.
Disgusting.
Couldn't land that last headshot.
Hilarious thing, too, he wins that round if he banks the nade off the door instead of tossing it for the far side there in small office. That blows Mira sky high, and that round's over.
Yep.
It's always down to those tiny little details, man. And that's not even on Shaiko. You have to get that's some guesswork, right?
Know the exact
exactly. So just wow, dude, what a round.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that shotgun play there as well that been brought in.
Oh yeah, he brought the express, baby. Oh, dude. Philippox, 15-5, by the way.
Yeah, he's been playing huge, like I said before. He was like kind of the hero on some of those
15-6, my bad.
He's the hero on some of those basement rounds, and now he's picking up some huge prowess when it comes to the entry game, as well as kind of the trade game here on these attack, or rather these defensive sites as well. So once again, w7m in control of the situation, but just barely with that 1-round lead. BDS has been responding to these every single time so far. A little more difficult potentially on this one. So we now rotate back to basement. The previous attempt here was locked in by w7m. So a possible 6-4 is coming up here. We don't see a change up from BDS to win it.
That's just like one of those things where it's like, Shaiko's not the boogeyman. Shaiko's who you send to kill the boogeyman.
The Baba Yaga.
Exactly, dude. The Baba Yaga. I watched John Wick 3 on the plane. Oh, and speaking of John Wick, he's pretty good with shotties too. KZ will put that one on display. Nobody on the other end of that either. Yeah, Brede does not want this smoke. Literally.
Brede can't. I mean, what is this distraction with the Twitch drone right now?
You've had to send it to the wolves.
Yeah, don't think he expected to run into him there, but at the end of the day, yeah, you can't really have Brede push that angle anyway, realistically, because he's got case control and he's by himself. So if he goes down on the peak, then that's almost the end of the round right there, because at that point you could just kind of gladiator out for the case control. That defensive player more than likely is going to win the majority of those duels inside of the tunnel.
Well, that's all their soft destruction gone, and half their nades, so that's not fun. They do have thermite. That's the one breach that they do have, but they have to be very selective with the way that they go about this. What hatches do they want? What control do they go for? You can see Alem's trying to work Garage right now. BDS trying to recoup some information after getting punished so easily inside of tunnel, which is surprising because that's usually something that BDS would be very aware of walking into a situation like that, but clearly not.
He's making sure he does not get collapsed upon, but he's got to worry about other things, such as that nade to the face. Shaiko, once again, making his mark in the early round.
He finds the first kill of the round for his team. The Lems gets a quick second, and now it's BDS in control as he successfully works out JB92. Had to work a while for it, but got the job done, and now has a position crossing onto the inside of Garage. Impact, though, quickly sends that back down the river. However, just as quickly, Lems pops out another shield and reaffirms that position. We did see another kill, of course, on the feed pop up in the favor of w7m while all this was going on, so we're back down to the even 3v3. Lems trying to push it back into the favor of BDS, but w7m very obviously realizing that that cross has been established. Do not want to test the waters when they have potential aggression also coming in at the same exact time from server.
Well, w7m, they have been called out by BDS, specifically Lems. They know there's two on the backside. They just have to identify this last player. I believe that's going to be the Mira. Felipox directly under the hatch. Has the Nitro Cell to try and play prevention, but BDS gets gunned down. He goes for the wide swing, and now two players down. It's one lone soul remaining, and Felipox and Nade will wrap it up with a bow to bring us on to 6-4 and map and match point, John. I almost said Derry, but he's not here. It's Demo. I always do that because his first name is Harry, right? And then it's Demo as his tag. I'm terrible with names, man. But either way, Demo was telling me that he doesn't think that w7m is going to drop a map this entire tournament. And so far, so freaking good, man.
A little close on a few of these years. We've seen BDS certainly bounce back a bit more, but the story arc is still very much w7m being in control of the overarching series, especially with that first half being played out over on Chalet with a 5-1 advantage going their way. Didn't really seem like there was much that could stop them. BDS has evolved over the course of the series and has found much better counters to some of the aggression and just the overall playstyle from w7m, but it's not enough, it seems, here. However, it's also not done yet for them. We've been seeing some great prowess come in, specifically from Shaiko and a few of the other members of the team as well. So if they can lock in these next two, obviously overtime and that map 3 still may be in the cards. Let's see if they can get it done, though, as w7m now head to the opposite side upstairs for potentially their final round.
BDS are going to put their hands in the dirt and see if they can erect a monument here. Monument to Monty as well. As BDS will be bringing out his tried and true. Something we see them lean on every once in a while when they need it most. This is definitely one of those times. w7m is looking to take out BDS in 2-0 fashion. Truly disgusting stuff. I mean, who's going to stop him? M80? I mean, like, this is just unprecedented.
It's certainly looking good for the w7m fans at home here as they look to two major events in a row in the CT ecosystem here, just claiming, for those who aren't already aware, of course, the Copenhagen Major just about 2 to 3 months ago. Now on the warpath to try and claim the lion's share of the prize pool here as well in Riyadh. Away from that, though, still need to lock in that final round. And it's a much more cautious approach to things for BDS in the first 45 seconds of this round. Shaiko tries to go for an opening nade kill again. May have just been some utility knockout down below as well there. He was going for that frostbat. Unfortunately, was unsuccessful in that, but I think there was a few other things below it too. It was more heavily targeting in that scenario.
Slow beginnings here for BDS, but why wouldn't it be? A lot of potential for w7m. Nade out, be instant. Saw you flinch there, you were worried he was going to blow up.
I was about to say, I was blinking real fast. Like, in fact, does have himself locked into a bit of a duel against KZ right now. Either player really wants to take it, however, it's definitely more so KZ running.
Oh my god, he almost timed him on that.
So close. This nade could be money. There we go.
Cash.
The lineup's there. No, a surprisingly small amount of damage on the Herds there, in fact. So a little bit off the angle. Might have been a wall or something that saves Herds up above. Either way, he's okay for the time being here. And like, in fact, does have that second nade, although I don't believe he wants to chuck it away. The intel that allowed him to throw the first one might be gone. Okay, here we go. Oh, and there we go. That one's going to sing as Felipox goes down to the second nade.
Well, one more grenade, actually two rather. Shaiko has one and so does a Lin. Shaiko jumps in. Shaiko is downed as they were seemingly ready for this kind of play. Renshiro's going to take a bit of damage. Renshiro, though, good for at least one. Make it a 4 versus 3. Lems will continue to hold onto the windows. They've been able to at least set up the crossfires here, but that doesn't mean that w7m can't battle back. The Monty's there, but it's only a distraction for EFAC directly behind him. JB92 still down low. No real way to try and dislodge Monty from doing too much, minus shooting him. JB92 on the rotation, but BDS are going to cover. It's going to be up to Nade to try and win this out. A triple kill for EFAC already inside of this round. The ump in his hand, the worst gun in the game, as some would say. So he's going to swing into this with the 1.5.
Post plant with a Monty, not looking good for Nade right now inside of this 1v3. More than likely going to push us on around 12 in just a few moments, but we'll see what Nade can give us.
Might be a surprise if he can work himself into a winnable position here, but it seems like BDS are not taking any chances at all. There's a player already on outside repel as well. That might be the Monty in that position, but either way, as you can see here, Nate has to go on a massive rotation just to be able to even get a fight against some of these players. The Monty is back on the site. There we go. That's enough of a distraction for Like in fact to push back into top square and shut down the round. It'll close out. And we'll push us one more round closer to a potential overtime as BDS is one away from it.
Practically the perfect time to break out the Monty, as there really wasn't anything from w7m that was going to be overly influential to trying to slow him down. I do think that they had a Legion, I do believe, that could have provided a little bit of trouble, but at the end of the day, they did such a good job of opening things up and making it to where BDS path forward was all but a walk in the park. So well done from them, especially on a lot of these nade plays that made life a little bit more difficult for w7m. I mean, they're all playing extremely well, but one of these things is not like the other, and it's Philippox with 18 and 7.
It's like a heroic performance coming out from him so far in this game, and we're not done just yet. Still a potential third map in the cards here. BDS
20 in regulation, which is just, that's disgusting, dude. That's over 2 kills a round.
Absolutely the case. Sitting at like a 2.3 or 2.4 KD right now, I think. This is really solid stuff from Philippox so far over the course of this series. Like you said, still early days in this tournament. Become a highlight reel for him if he continues to play like this over the next few days, or winding up in that potential finals position. Drone sneak from Shaiko is going to get a little bit of early intel from that, and certainly can go back to that drone as he gets ready to hop back in here towards the open area. The rest of the team, though, still needs to build up and, more importantly, steal away that top control. As you can see, Herds, KZ, potentially one or two other players still going to be roaming around here, looking to cause problems if BDS try to go for a direct play on the site.
KPR-wise, he's actually like a little bit under 2. KDA-wise, he's looking fantastic. True. Yeah, indeed, indeed. Mathematics, right? Gotta make sure we're talking about the right statistical data here. As EFAC will be bringing his Bravo drone in. Let me see if we can potentially steal anything away from his opponents. One right around the corner. He at least gets the first Dread Mine, so that will open up the kitchen double door. But Nade is more than likely dedicated to this area, and they'll be able to just work that with his positioning for the time being.
So a very respectful round here. w7m not really trying to take any of these early fights as we had seen previously here. To be fair, though, that's been a common trend here. BDS has made w7m respect them a heck of a lot more, and this is the reason why they are constantly successfully finding this open player or two on the side of w7m and giving BDS a much easier time to establish that early map positioning. Philippox, very much so the strongest player on the defense right now, has gone down right at the beginning of the round. Won't be able to help out with trying to close things down right now at the tail end of regulation.
This is such a crappy moment for w7m. Not have they only lost Philippox, but also all this verticality going to a Lem so early into the round. He was already breaking up his floorboard at like a minute 45, which is such a detriment to the defense. It makes it to where your positioning is so limited. See if they can potentially get some key frags that could open up this round a bit for them. Nate will at least be able to get rid of one of the Rotero drones, but EFAC already with another kill for himself on this round as he'll take down Herds.
Consistent right now coming in from BDS and from EFAC specifically. He shuts out yet another player. Smoke Lord could get the better of him.
The one way?
Just kidding. Yeah, no, that's not actually from that angle. This is the player on the other side of that one. You can see JB92 at the bottom of those stairs. KZ, in the meanwhile, does manage to grab Shaiko from his spot over here. However, he is locked into it now with the problem, and it's all soft-walled, so no easy way to escape that with top square already being fully under the control of BDS. Like that gets another one, and then Lems to shut down the very aggressive position from Nade out by Break. That's 6-6, locked in, and overtime enabled for the first time in the series. So we have no winner here yet. Still could go to w7m, but they have to rebound now for the next 3 rounds.
Yeah, BDS was ready for that wide berth that w7m was taking on the defensive end. They were able to read right through it, find every single kill, moment after moment. Nothing really going for w7m as they were constantly looking to try and get something going, but obviously not the case. And you can see how that suppressor worked out so beautifully for EFAC on that spam. When you do have that suppressor on, actually, folks, you don't have any bullet tracers, so it makes it to where spamming things is actually a lot better for you. All they see is it breaking the wall up. They don't see the angle at which you're actually shooting the rounds, and in that perfect case scenario right there, Philippox walks directly into the spray, and he doesn't even know that that's where it is.
So dead heat 3-3 between both teams. W7M do get the advantage in their personal case of going on to the attacking side, where we've definitely seen a little bit more strength come out from them, more specifically inside of map number 1, but we'll see if that start on that side is really going to give them the advantage they need to close this one down, as eliminated 2 out of the next 3 here. BDS on the defensive side as well. Just kind of continue moving forward back inside of the first half here. On the path to rebounding, and hopefully on the path to map 3 as well. Very similar operator lineup coming in. They're not really feeling the need to change things up for their basement defense, as they did start to lock it down a bit more confidently towards the end of that first regulation half. W7M, though, do give us a very similar flair as well to the last time they attacked this site. The Canadellas are in for Nate, as well as Herds doing most of the heavy lifting here. They did ditch the Monty for this one. They're going to be trying to clear out the first and second floors a little bit quicker by bringing Herds in with the Buck instead, but the overall attack will more than likely...
There's one at Janitor, right? Yeah, Limbs is in there.
Yeah.
All right, well, what do you got for us? Because they are assaulting you so very quickly, my friend.
That didn't work out too well for the Limbs, did it?
That's something.
He just immediately gets overwhelmed by like half the team on W7M. It seemed like there was players on BDS positioned by the first floor rotates to like try and help him out from below, but it all happened too quickly, it seems. So he gets overwhelmed there. Clean first kill, relatively speaking, from W7M. Now we need to see a quick exchange from one of these first floor players, or at the very minimum, a safe retreat back down to the basement, as they're already working with a player deficit here. It would certainly hurt, if not make the round impossible to win, to go down by an additional player here too.
Which will be gone. Sure, the Legion Mine under the hatch. But W7M, not only do they have the pick, they have so much time to work all of this. Renshiro's going to be forced back downstairs. This clear so far, so good for W7M. Do you remember that the case, or rather the bomb, is all the way downstairs, so they are going to have to eventually traverse the entire map and get a plant down low. But pick onto a Limbs, things have gotten a touch easier. They still have to deal with Brede though, and as we know with Brede, he is so strong at playing this patience game and playing these supportive roles. Smoke, one of his mainstay ops, and one that he is so very talented on. So excited to see how he could potentially close out the last portion of this round, just strictly based off of his smoke utility. Remember, you can break up quite a bit of time with those things, and we are getting down to the point where he is at his maximum potential.
Shaiko with the trade, evens out the numbers.
He knew they were going to try for the garage again.
A nice find from him. Gets the elimination on to Hertz. That's also the... well, actually, Nate does have another set of secondary hard breach as well, so they're still able to accomplish that task. Opening things up inside of the server push potentially for them, but as you can see, Spear Mine and now the smokes continuing to waste out the time here. KZ going to work back in, obviously. Spear Mine is not going to forget the nade, but Brede gets connected by a long-range hit. He's way in the back there. So good possibilities you're seeing right now for someone to rotate in and grab. Like it back, still upstairs as well. Gets away with not just one, maybe a second one, but he fails to perform against that player on the inside of break room. JV92 drops instead, but it's too chaotic now. BDS seem to have it on lock as it's down to just KZ, and he misses Renshiro hiding out behind the metal cabinet. That's round 1 and a 2 here. Locked in for the French roster. One more, and they send us to map 3.
W7M cannot find the potency in the dying moments of that round. BDS able to stand tall, slow them up just enough to where the frag power could shine through yet again with W7M's execution. W7M have kept a timeout in their back pocket for quite some time, John. And they're going to burn it now at the critical moment, when things have really reached critical mass. It's either now or never if BDS takes this round. So see what W7M can potentially muster as they'll be on the defensive end. What site will they even choose? Well, we won't know here for at least another handful of seconds.
There's no real safe site to go to really for either of these teams because of how even both of the halves had been, so it's really just up to them and their own personal choice about which one they feel is going to give them the best results overall. Timeout will be expiring about 5 seconds here, so they're running out of room to figure out what's going wrong. Once again, we're constantly seeing these star players get shut down in the early round, most commonly by Shaiko, but other members of BDS are stepping up occasionally to pull off that role as well. That's been a big issue here just over the past 5 or 6 rounds now, with players like Felipox and the others getting denied in the first minute or two and unable to help out with that very much needed entry power in the late round.
Sarge's jamming right now.
Yeah, there's a little bumping. It's like playing ranked.
1, 2, 3, drop! My brother-in-law is a DJ in Austin, Texas, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hilariously enough. Dude, he's actually very, very good. He opened for Nero this last weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, so not a small time DJ at all.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, which is pretty dope. So shout out to you, Hank. Good stuff, buddy.
All right, so once again, BDS now with the advantage here. I believe this is the first time they've actually gone ahead in points. They only tied w7m during regulation. They actually took the lead away from them. So BDS finally ahead for the first time in 2 full maps nearly. Let's see if they can lock it in here. Only got one opportunity to do so with an outright lead. Otherwise, it's going to go dead heat. 7-7 yet again. For us to get a true winner with a full 15 rounds out of this second map here. Heavy on the delay composition once again from w7m here. And they are going to play into site one more time. See if this will yield results. Is Like Fact going to try and sneak in the Twitch drone through the basement? Does not work out, though. Immediately denied. Utility is going to stay nice and tightly locked for w7m.
w7m have chose the turtle strat. Pretty downstairs.
I mean, to be fair, it's the safest one when you're kind of up against the wall like this. So.
You are correct.
It's also the most predictable.
And that's where I'm
the most played out.
You could broadcast yourself. I mean, you're batting 1,000 right now. You're just reading my mind.
I bring both sides of the argument to my cast.
They tell you that's the best way to argue things. Know both sides, right?
Yeah.
So there you go.
Then you can't be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Facts. Yeah, then you can just be mean the entire time. Just constantly just keep like providing neutral.
I'm just the neutral guy.
Exactly.
I have no strong feeling one way or the other.
Finally, we got some play going on here. It's just been simple bank stuff so far, folks. We're getting the hatches open. We're doing our due diligence on the offensive side, but a Nitro cell will almost eliminate a Lems. And that's the big telltale sign of what could be to come for w7m. They could potentially tie things up and keep Harry Demo Dempster's dreams alive of not having w7m drop a map.
Oh yeah, I just remembered that. You mentioned that earlier, of course. This is gonna put
I had to jinx it. That's why I had to talk about it, just so everybody knew that Harry was actually an idiot. I'm joking.
Well, that stat line is under risk. Toxic Babe does go off right in front of Lems. Nearly kills him too. Look at how low he is. If he got a little bit closer to that one, that could have been the tick to send him to the grave. The peak coming in. Oh, the timing. But the player on the other end of it, KZ, did not have the confidence to full swing it. He backs away. He knows he's locked in here as well. Brita obviously has the counter for the downstairs angle on the hatch there. A few foot shots connecting. Lems pushes forward.
Oh my God!
SMG11 to correct myself. Knocks out a Lems instead. First kill is found from KZ. He's confirmed at least a 1-for-1. Can he sneak off a second pump of the M590? Just playing with him right now, but right into the flash. Still gets a massive chunk of damage off onto Renshiro. But regardless, Renshiro will take him down. JV92 cannot maintain, however, against Lycanfact's pressure from the garage. This has been a consistent part of BDS's pushing pressure, is bullying out that player on the inside of garage, and has opened up multiple angles time after time again here on these basement assaults. Not enough for the main group to push themselves in just yet. The still Shaiko upstairs watching for a counterflank over by Beepers, and indeed, there is a member of w7m trying to play with that. Did Shaiko see this player moving in? He's had to have heard him now. Thankfully, catches that one. But Shaiko's kill. Lycanfact, second one. Philippe
stay alive!
He's holding it again, the hero of the basement here. Renshiro had to restart the plan. No, runs right out into the angle for Lycanfact, and that'll shut down map number 2. BDS rebound after a rough map 1, and we'll be sending us to map 3 to decide the series.
Well, I'm sorry, Demo. I'm sorry about your damn luck. w7m will drop their first map. We got a series in between these two, folks. Somebody's here to play up against w7m, and it just so happens to be the French. BDS coming to play here, especially Efac and Shaiko. Efac 19-8. I believe Shaiko had 15 to his own name there as well. So just in between those two, eclipsing 30 kills inside of that game. What a match we have on our hands, and we're headed to Oregon for our last map.
Very much a story of heroes throughout the course of this map. We were seeing players like Philippox, KZ, as well as Herd stepping up in the earlier rounds for the members of w7m to give them that early lead once again, but they could not maintain. BDS started shutting them down in the early round. Shaiko pulling off most of that early round prowess to prevent these kills from coming through, and you're more likely going to see this here on the replays as well. Slowly allowed for BDS to work themselves back into a more strong position as we got deeper and deeper into the round count and eventually overwhelm them to bring it back in overtime and take it down in overtime itself 2-0. Didn't even need that third round to get it done. You can see it as well here as we get deeper into it. Just more and more confidence showing up. Shaiko getting away with plays like this, that double kill steal when they were trying to attack over into open area as well. w7m need to quickly patch up these issues on their attack, as now they're going to be put up against the wall here. With the Frenchies being awake, things look much, much better for them to potentially take control of this series. W7M down a peg as well.
It's just fantastic across the board from both of these teams. I'm really, really excited to get into Oregon and see what both of them have to offer, especially because these two maps that we just played are very offense intensive, and then we go over to Oregon where things are going to be all about the defense, baby. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's throw you guys on over to a break, and we'll be right back with Game 3.
Welcome to What's That Sound, where we pick two of the best players in the world that go up against each other in a very simple game. It's what is that sound? What sound are they hearing? And it's Pino versus Banja. Here is your first sound.
That's a Illa mine getting thrown.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, that's my final answer.
The Ella mine, Ella Grismot mine, yeah.
You confident?
Yeah.
You should be, because it is correct. It is the Grismot mine being thrown. So 1 for 1 at the moment. Okay, you ready for next up? Sound.
Yeah, the Kali gadget.
Yeah, the Kali gadget, yeah.
That's Kali, yeah, it is Kali shooting her under barrel. Now this is always a great sound. I love this sound, I'm sure you will as well.
Wait, can you...
I can replay, you ready?
Yeah. Okay, I'm just coming with a guess again. I think it's when Bandit take his thing up, but...
You think it's Bandit taking a shot fire off a wall?
No idea.
No idea? Final answer.
Just taking it out of the pocket.
It? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not that, Banja. It's Fuse whenever he pulls the pin. Let's go for your next one now.
When a smoke can is getting exploded, I don't know.
The new gadget, the open hatches.
New gadget that opens hatches?
Yeah.
You think? Listen to it one more time.
I don't think it's that, but I'm just going with it.
Okay. It's not that, Banja?
Yeah, I'm gonna show it my answer.
So that was Maverick's blowtorch as you reload it.
Yeah, it's kind of...
So the gas comes out of it, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go with maybe, let's say 2 more. We'll go with 2 more, and we'll see how that gets on.
Thermite charge.
The breaching charge.
Or it could be a breach charge, but I think it's a thermite charge.
One of the two, what's it gonna be?
Thermite.
It's breaching charge we're looking for. And then we'll go for just 1 more.
IQ scanner.
Oh, you're confident with that one?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you're very confident.
We're ending on a win here.
Yeah.
The throwing a drone, I think.
It is throwing a drone, yeah, well done.
Okay, we're
You're very confident just for all that to fall up against you. So, that's another episode done of What Is That Sound? Pino versus Banja has concluded. Until next time.
Welcome back to second day of Gamers8 featuring Rainbow Six with the SCC takeover, where BDS just won their own respective map pick, so that means that we're going to be going to the Decider Oregon. But before we head into that, it is important that we dissect what just happened, because if I'm being completely honest, Jesse, I can already steal your smile is, you're like ready to talk about this. W7m were so close, all right? They, especially at the start, it genuinely looked like they were going to be the one to close this out in a 2-0 fashion, but something just clicked for BDS, and they managed to win it in OT.
Well, that's the thing. It was such a fun game, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So back and forth, and it really fun. You could write a Greek epic about the battle between Felipox and Likifac going head-to-head this match. It was so good. You know, we started off massive 4K 1v2 from Felipox, sets the stage, the momentum's going for W7M 3 in a row. Then what happens is a big play from Likifac. back, an absurd 1v3 to turn the tides back in their favor. Then we swap halves, it's 3-3, and we see once again, who is it but Felipox on the roam, playing mirror on those basement defenses, doing a great job winning them the rounds. Then what happens? It's Lickyfat getting back in once again. 6-4 is the scoreline, puts the team on its back, goes for some flanks, finds some massive rounds to be able to pull it on back, and then you go to overtime, and it's a final frag in garage. Deep Lickyfat finds the long angle frag onto Felipox, winning them the round, securing this game in favor of BDS. Just what a tale this match was.
Exactly. I mean, this round 4 is definitely something very special as well. I mean, there's a very bad situation for Lickyfat. He's in a 1v3, if I recall correctly. He has to pull a 180 on the person that's pushing him from garage, wins out the 1v1 with the Monty. What I really commend is the quick thinking right after. He's got that FNAT mine in his back pocket. He throws it on the floor, sees the red indicator as well, knows the player is in the middle of the gas as he rotates, is able to get the line of sight on the player because the player can't see. They have to plan. There isn't that much time on the clock. The quick thinking, the 180, the mechanics, that was really good from Lickyfat in order to win out that round. It felt like the entries are way more on the side of w7m, KZ being very successful in that. On the other side of BDS, for example, and Shiro often being on the receiving end of that. Though there was really good persistence to come around out of a deficit when it comes to men count and still win out rounds from both teams, really.
Yeah, when it comes to BDS as well, coming into this map, specifically on Bank, and you said that you want to see them take more opportunities. You want to see them be able to identify these opportunities and actually play off of them. Is that something that they have been able to hit the nail on the head for?
I mean, yeah, if you look at the fact that sometimes players died while trying to spawn peek, there is spawn peeking going on. They're trying. That way, I guess, less respect, as in like, we'll give you the space, and they're trying to take the space from the spawn out of the hands of w7m, really. And yeah, maybe you have players die 2 times in a row and they're trying to do those spawn peeks, but there is that kind of opportunity seeking. There are, I think I saw Marus as well. They're trying to take top floor faster, trying to take control out of rooms faster, going for odd drops, for example. There is more opportunity seeking, so I'm happy to see that, and I want to see it on the third map as well.
Yeah, I think Renshiro was trying to get really involved, I think, early in those rounds, trying to get aggro, find those opening picks, but KZ shut him down really well. There was the spawn peek, which you mentioned, I think round 2, and then right after that, we saw the Amaru coming in from KZ, again, immediately finding that frag onto Renshiro. So nice to be able to shut that down from w7m. Of course, that was early in this game. You know, a lot of stuff happened throughout this match, kind of did eventually tilt the way of BDS, but yeah, certainly when that adaptation felt like it was starting to come out from BDS.
Yeah, w7m, though, they did actually have quite a good start to this map specifically, and they were even almost very close to still closing it out in overtime, but still it wasn't enough. So when it comes to w7m, they had such a great performance on the first map. We said, oh, we're not really seeing any faults coming out from this roster, but clearly there were some here, because this actually means that the flawless run for both of these teams has ended, because they both dropped a map each.
Wow.
Sad.
Yeah, it's... It matches the match, I guess, as well so far. I mean, that first map was really dominant for w7m. They were very convincing on entries, very convincing on closing out rounds. Here, I'm seeing, obviously, they're getting entries, but they're not always winning out those rounds where they do have that favor. Whereas on Chalet, they clearly sometimes got themselves in a man deficit, and then there were moments where, for example, BDS overpeaked, or they had so much information on BDS, they were able to close it out into an even score and then eventually win out that round. But I feel like we're seeing less of that here from w7m, where they get the entries and then also successfully close out such rounds.
Is that more down to the fact that w7m is playing a little bit more loose, considering that they won that first map, or rather BDS reeling it in and not overpeaking and getting caught early?
I think it's also using space, because obviously you might find an entry, but the fact that you can use Bank with such different staircases and you can rotate all the way. I mean, we saw both teams, for example, fully retaking top floor control when teams had already taken, for example, like the middle floor. So if you understand the situation very well, if you're able to take that ground back, you're able to even out man count, or for example, get rid of people watching hatches, then you can turn rounds around in your favor.
Yeah, I think certainly they were able to find, especially in that second half, like a lot of good ways to open things up. When you look at those last couple of rounds where they were against match point, they had to pull it out, they had to find those openings. You know, we saw Felipox go in from below, find those nades to be able to land and open up the round into the CEO bomb site, right? Work in behind the shield as well, find those entries, make space for yourself, and yeah, I think eventually they got there. BDS did a great job at closing that down. Maybe the basement bomb site offers some struggles, but even in overtime, you know, they eventually got past that.
Yeah, so a lot of struggles that we've seen from BDS that they were able to get past. W7M maybe not as clean as we saw them in that first game, but it does bring the question in terms of Oregon, because that is going to be at the side of the map. What can we expect on that map specifically from both of these teams? Because BDS seems to be a little bit more in form, W7M still in form, but a couple of maybe mishaps, over peaking a little bit too overzealous here and there.
Yeah, a few stats on this map. This was the map, the decider when these two teams last faced off against each other. W7M won that 8-6, so they won it, but not super convincing as it got to overtime. For BDS, this must feel like a copy-paste because they just had two maps that they already played yesterday, and Oregon was also going to be the decider for their game against Auction. It didn't get there because they won 2-0, but they probably have some kind of prep on this map and are ready to bring it out. It is somehow, though, lowish preference for both teams.
It doesn't make the question of if the prep is specific to Oxygen, because they knew that they were going to be playing against Oxygen, and W7M, like you said to yourself, Jesse, they're a different beast.
Certainly, I think this is going to be a map that is easier to prep, though, if you're BDS than it is for W7M, because BDS just haven't really touched this map very often. This year, after SI, they've only played it once in real, like, Tier 1 major competitions, and it was a 7-0 over Wild in the Major Last Chance qualifier.
Wow.
So, you know, what can you really learn from a 7-0?
So they're good.
Especially, yeah, from a while ago, too, right? So, you know, there's not a lot of VODs to go back through for W7M. They've also got a great support staff. We've been talking about BDS a lot, but I know W7M have some real great analysts and coaches working behind the scenes too to try to get that data back up for the team. But there's not a lot to dig into there for Oregon. It is a simple map, right? It's kind of a map that you play a lot of defaults on, but if BDS have been prepping something, if they've got some kind of curveball in their back pocket, W7M will not know ahead of time.
I mean, obviously, Oregon allows for this opportunity spotting as well, right? How many times do we see MRs, for example, into Tier 3, getting that control really quickly? How often do we see blitzers rushing through the blue bunker in Oregon elbow? So it allows for the opportunity spotting and the aggressiveness that we've been seeing from both teams, really, but also does fit the meta. The last result for W7M is they beat Sonics on this map at Copenhagen, so there is some information for BDS. It's not that recent as it was 2 months ago, but there is some information because it was the same lineup that they were playing.
Yeah, the same lineup, but again, it comes down to that information. It comes down to curveballs as well that Jesse mentioned. We don't really know too much in terms of what we can be expecting from these teams, so it's going to be down to figuring that out on the server. But it still remains in this Oregon, considering how close Bankwell's as well, and that being BDS's map pick, are we feeling confident in BDS being able to close this one out?
I don't know. This is so tough. This is after the map we just watched, I promise you it'll be a good game.
Well, thank you. That's a good thing.
God, I can't say.
It's theory crafting, right? Because we would expect momentum to be in favor of BDS after they just won, but then the map was so close as well. They had to win in overtime, not just a dominant like W7M did on their own map pick. So in that case, it might be theory crafting. One thing I'm also really looking forward to is how Fenrir is going to play a role on this map, because the last time, obviously, at Copenhagen, Fenrir wasn't a possibility, wasn't an option. But we've seen it a lot, for example, on Bank as well, having a huge impact. So I hope that we see it on Oregon too.
It'll be tough. I think when it comes down to it, having a little bit more experience, playing the map a little bit more may favor W7M, but again, without really that VODs to look back on, who knows, that prep work might actually go back in favor BDS. So we'll see. I think it's also going to depend on like which players show up. You know, I kind of said before the last map that for BDS take this, we need to see Alem stepping up and having more of an impact. He didn't really do that. I felt he still kind of started kind of weak on this map number 2. If he can show up finally on map number 3, I think they'll grab it, but it's going to be close.
It is going to be close indeed. We're back to ground zero. Both these teams, they're looking to continue their undefeated series run, but only one is going to be able to do so. Are the defending champs BDS going to be able to close it out, or are the major winners W7M going to head out on top? Find out as we're going to be heading into Oregon with Sam and Josh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone the full distance here. Map number 3 is on the board. Let's see who takes it between W7M and BDS. BDS just closing down our most recent map in very close fashion. Both halves going to 3-3, but BDS taking over when it came to overtime. Being able to take 2 rounds back-to-back, not even needing the third one. Let's see if they can continue that trend, or if some of the individuals here on W7M are going to wake up a little bit more here. We saw them
getting real personal now.
We saw them fading off a bit towards the end of map 2. W7M, though, does get that first ban in, and it is going to be Iana, of course, removed. Flores knocked out next year. It makes sense considering the map. Flores can have quite a bit of impact to knock out Insight Utility. The rooms overall in this map are a lot smaller. He's got to group that utility a lot closer together, meaning an operator like that can have a heck of a lot more impact. Mira as well has plenty of spots to use the mirror windows, of course, here on this map. So once again, she's quite a common pick to be knocked out, and I would not be surprised if we get Valkyrie once again for the final ban.
Good on you for bringing up the square footage of Oregon, because that really does matter about like about how tight-knit those hallways are and that kind of stuff. It just makes Dwarf Flores is so much more potent, and he already is an amazing operator, but Oregon is probably his best map. He is so good at breaking up that basement, and BDS wants to be able to lock things down when they get into their defensive half. That just means that BDS is very confident without Flores. They are ready to clear things out, but that also means that we're going to have to see some pretty unique things come out of them for this operator lineup. The first things first that we have to talk about, though, John, because we have not seen this off the entire time because she's been banned out, Dokebee's in the lineup, Dokebee's in the game. Dokebee has so much utility in the current patch of Rainbow Six Siege, folks. She's got a Gon 6 as a secondary, she's got EMP grenade, she's got her Doke call, she's got an EBR as a primary. I mean, she has everything that you could potentially want in an operator and probably more.
Obviously, again, W7M choosing to, instead of going for that utility ban, they go for the target ban, specifically against Shaiko instead, by eliminating the Yana, hopefully preventing as much prowess from coming out from the individuals, which, again, as the analysis desk even discussed, was a big part of how BDS was able to win. Players like Shaiko, but more importantly, like Efact, picking up the slack there in the previous map. So if they're able to do the same thing again, we could be looking at that 2-1 lead on the series for BDS.
What a damn nuisance these walls are. You see little observation blockers in place. Yeah. JV92 still has one, but both of these are going to make this really difficult to try and hold some very key, influential information that is usually extremely easy, guys. We usually just see a drone out on the balcony for Master, and you can look under the door and just watch the rotations over through Trophy, but no longer a thing with that in place.
The rest of BDS here taking a nice slow approach to things to start us off. W7M have quite the spread of their own player count across the map right now. If you haven't already noticed it, of course, from the silhouettes. They are going to spot here as Shaiko begins to move in, and of course his teammates sit on drones. Bride spotting it out down there in the inside of a laundry. The procedure up until laundry, of course, is pretty open for the taking right now. But it's KZ from up on top that gets the top stairs angle. Shaiko tries to push past what appeared to be an open breach to start things out, but no, gets locked into garage instead. And the top-down angle that was already opened up there by W7M allows for KZ to get away with this first kill for free. Like, in fact, tries to play out inside of construction here as well, but backs away arguably with some perfect timing onto that. Hop out again, but thankfully once again we've got our other POV ready to hot swap into, so we'll jump on that real quick for you guys here. We're going to keep casting in the meanwhile. There we go, right back into the game. Down to a 4v3 currently though, with W7M striking most recently on that kill we got before jumping out of game. It's those top-down angles right now that are being a real menace to BDS. They haven't been able to properly deal with them, although as you'll see, they finally did trade out specifically onto KZ. So specifically the issue over here by the main laundry stairs has finally been dealt with.
Mine ready to go.
All quiet. After BDS end up losing those two bodies. One exchange for KZ, as you said. Can't get taken out on the back end. I think it's a touch easier for BDS as they try to transition to this mid floor. Don't have any means to try and break up any of these hatches anymore, but the hatch is already open, so won't have to worry about that all too much. Limbs is down on his Dokebee calls now, though. Johnny's out of them completely, so gonna make things a little bit more difficult for them as they won't have that immediate info source to be able to try and garner anything away from W7M. They do have a lot of frag grenades, though, and that's where things could get extremely troublesome. It's a nice tag. One. I was about to say tags, but only that single shot getting through there. Peacox will take a little bit of damage of his own. This pillar position starting to become a hot commodity, and Renshiro will be the one to deal the death blow. A frag grenade out as a secondary option as he'll drop his way in. They know the swing has to be coming through, and JV92 is there to receive. Lems has some cross angles that he can try and play into, but with only 15 seconds remaining, BDS have got to get something going for themselves. No challenges coming out from W7M. No clue, no hope. Right over the left shoulder there of the Warden. Renshiro will at least be able to get one, make it two rather, as he's able to get it down into the 1v1, but zero time. Herds is smarter than that. He's just going to sit over inside of Laundry and gather that round. That's a defensive win on Oregon. What else would you expect?
Ups the Renshiro there for trying to clutch it out in the final moments. Nearly gets away with it, but unfortunately, that last player over on W7M just plays it smartly. Backs away from the situation and runs the timer out, as unfortunately, those players had to run the timer far too deep just to get to that point in it. still did not have the capability to shut things down. 1-0 lead now coming in from W7M. You get some nice replays going here. This shows us how Keys is able to spot things out. That's the power of Solus. Catch a player on chems, and you're near enough towards them. It's free intel, and he does it not just once, but twice here before finally getting traded out on that other POV we were seeing that player at the bottom of the stairs. JV92 continued to dominate here from the corner. He gets away with 2 of these picks before finally being traded out by Renshiro, who, as we see, nearly gets away with this outright clutch. Both those players actually look like they lined up too, so we get a 2-for-1 on that spray. Just couldn't find the third player in time, unfortunately.
Yes, indeed. We're just waiting on one of the W7M players to get back into the lobby, folks, and once that happens, we'll be jumping back into Oregon. But a successful defense from W7M presented by the early frags there. They were able to garner from BDS, able to at least put themselves into the proper straights going into the later portions of round 1. But what else would you expect except a successful defense when it comes to the basement bomb site of Oregon? So, with JV92 back in, we'll hop back into the game as well. It's going to be Kids Dorm's defense here for W7M. Are we going to bring any OBS blockers this time? Doesn't seem like we will. Do have a deployable shield out of Nade as he will be playing the Warden in a Nitro cell to Fleetpox's name as well. But past that, W7M bringing the usual cast of characters when it comes to this top floor.
Yes, meanwhile, a few changes to them, but they're relatively minor in the grand scope of things. Shagun is going to a more comfortable pick of an operator here. He's going to bring the Ashe into the fold, and then, of course, we're going to see the Helmana swapped into.
They took away Yana. Now he's reached his final form.
He tried to play the Nomad in the last round. Didn't work out. He's like, all right, that's
Screw that gun.
Bringing the Ashe back. Which Ashe is it, though?
That's true. Is it R4C Ashe or is it G36?
I think he plays R4.
It's G36. It's going to be. He loves that 1.5.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yep.
Bing bong.
Fair enough.
Hey, listen, man. Might have been gone for 6 months.
Meanwhile, though, just running out there.
just goes to show you that literally nothing changes with these players in that long. Because, like, if y'all think I was watching anything, I had way too much stuff going on, bro. I wasn't watching a damn thing. Licky Fact with a nice little grenade there, but the cheeky will mind us.
I love it. Explains what he was doing out there. Okay, cool. I thought he was running out to try and get a kill, but no, he's just chucking out one of the magnets. Nicely done. They'll gobble up one. They don't have a whole lot of extra ones either. Just the extra second one sitting in Licky Fact's pocket. That's a huge amount of utility that goes completely to waste right there. Not even going to be able to pop it open. And there's now a laser gate sitting in the way too.
All the patience now from BDS, but like, what else are they going to do, really? I mean, you got to find a way around this. Shago's going to hold this angle, but you really should just be seeing the rest of the team working the map around. Renshiro's going to try and come over and influence things over on double window. As soon as he pops this, they now know Akali's on the board. So they're probably going to be avoiding this like the plague unless there is a reason for them to be swinging into that. Just remember that gun is a one-shot, one-kill.
Wow, this setup.
This is
not. They got an abandoned ship here, in my opinion.
Yeah, flash in. Another one. My disc eats it up. He's going to be able to get him at least. I'm actually really surprised that KZ dipped away from that, but he's probably worried about the other frag grenade coming in because he doesn't know EFAC's positioning.
So fair enough to trade him out there, but he gets away with far too much beforehand. And even just in terms of the utility that was eaten up as well there, the nades, pretty much the full kit out of quite a few of these other players as well. Brady's only got one flash left in the pocket. Drones have been drained out quite heavily as well. They've got 6 remaining, but the players that are actually alive only have 1 to each and every one of them, it looks like right now. So realistically, 3 drones, unless they have a few presets already that could be useful here in the late round.
Well, whatever has happened over on the BR stream is popping off, man. I don't know what the hell is going on, but dude, there is something. Brigaday's got the plant. Renshiro somehow collapses somebody with the secondary SMG, and EFAC, EFAC is at least able to elongate the round and make this BDS's all day, every day, unless JV92 has something to say about it. He's got the cross for white stairs. Case in Briday's hand. He's going to start the plant now, stun out, so he won't be able to hear that, but he'll still be able to hear the typing. Has to hold the cross here. Is he just going to let Briday plant and go for it? He will indeed. He knows the other one has to be on white stairs. And just remember, there's no real way to ninja things inside of Siege. But you don't need it when you have the EBR, John. You just got to hit somebody twice, and they're pretty much dead. JV92, baby.
Going crazy here in the first rounds. Already at 5-1 as well for JV92. So massive frags being picked up by him, including that big clutch right there to seal the deal on a second round advantage. Another 3-0 could very well be in the cards here for W7M as they're going to look to repeat it for a third map in a row here. That has got to be demoralizing for BDS. But thankfully, with the solace of the fact that they eventually came back and won our second map, despite that deficit, they're probably not going to be too worried about it here. And again, JV92 just showing up right from the beginning of the round. KZ gets away with the other 2 pickups here as well for the inside of that one. Like you said, a little bit surprising that he backs up there, but he didn't really know when the nade was going to come through, of course, from the Nook, so just didn't want to take a risk on that. Loses his life anyway, and then we fall back on JV92 here, just shutting things down after BDS is able to bully their way into the site. Just no time to establish that post plan, unfortunately. BDS was locked into the corner. He had to take the duel right from the beginning of it, and his teammate just not in position to support him after that first kill goes through, as he was already preoccupied falling back to white there.
I'm honestly just a tad bit surprised that given the circumstances of time, right? Because they weren't like crazy low on time, like they still had a little bit of you know, stuff left in the tank to be able to do something. That BDS didn't just try and go for the kill, really. They kind of understood the positioning of where JV92 could potentially be, but you know, you trust the process sometimes. This happens a lot in CS too, man, as well. So it's just one of those things where you're like, okay, I play the objective, but sometimes playing the objective allows that rotation that's so very pivotal to the round, and that's what happens right there. He didn't end up crossing across the door frame when we saw the hold from white, and that's all she wrote.
If we saw the planter, or the player that was supporting the planter, actually like swing that instead of go back to white, that probably could have ended up in the hands of BDS. Just some unfortunate timing of plays right there. Basically, that ends up working out very heavily into JV92's hands because he gets the separate one.
No shot.
Okay, Renshiro in the meanwhile just lands a winger of a headshot on the JV92. Not sure if he was trying to go for a run out or he just caught him on the timing, but hopefully we get that one on a replay later to get a better view. As either way, that's a nice shot coming in there for Renshiro to start us off.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say
By the
JV.
way, just pointing it out too, Renshiro also kind of going off right now. He's also at 5-1 currently. So
somebody's got to get the frags, man. Because nobody else is. Shaiko as well as EFAC, the 2 biggest fraggers in this series so far for BDS, both at a goose egg. Not exactly what you want to see out of them going into round 3, but with this pick on a JV92, which I assume he was probably over there putting some can traps up, definitely positive boon for them. W7m though, still with a lot left in the tank. We've seen them in these circumstances before, and they can constantly befuddle their opponent.
Potential no respect push going to come in here against the top hold since they have Renshiro on the opposite cross. No one even really here anymore as well from W7M. Just herds, and he's way in the back of the attic there. Probably not going to be sticking around for too much longer after that leg shot comes through. Just waiting on the hatch position, trying to get some fadeaway damage. He'll get about half the HP off of a Lem. It's not the worst thing in the world. At least trades out the damage that he sustained from the Chalet a few seconds prior. KZ also denies at least 1 drone, but the problem is they're still losing player count far too quickly here. Nade gets caught out by Shaiko. Shaiko, no respect on the push. That's the problem, though. He hadn't properly investigated these angles. KZ reestablishes the cross from the inside of Kitchen and now brings BDS down a player. Still up by 1, however, so they could afford to take that risk, but they lose a big player in the process. Now it's going to be one of these other guys that need to step up for the entry game.
This is where we get a tiny bit worried for BDS, unless we have Fleepox here, but BDS, when it's come down to these moments up against W7M, it just seemed like W7M have always been 1 leg above. We'll see if it happens yet again here. Charges down, trying to manipulate the floor and make it to where not a lot of the crossfires are available to W7M. It looks like it's going to be a kitchen offense. EFAC able to take down Fleepox with the shotgun of all things. He's working his way through the kitchen hallway. KZ trying to tag up somebody upstairs, but there are so many potential angles, so many oddities being thrown their way that BDS might finally have the execute that they've been looking for so badly. He sprints into security. A foul move, something that was not exactly written in, not coded, not designed well, and he gets punished for it. Is BDS, the patience from them works swimmingly. W7M finally drop around on this defense.
And a pretty straightforward, slow and methodical map clear from BDS to get the job done as well. They just took it section by section, starting off with the grab on JV92 from the beginning of the round. They already had a 5v4 at the start of it, so they can afford to take extra risks. They can afford to swing things like we saw from Shaiko there when he tried to go for the site take a little bit early on. Here's the setup, and indeed, no, I think JV92 might have been leaning into a slight peek there. Just some countered intel from the attack, slaps him down to the ground, or even sees the light of day there. Unfortunate for JV92, given the tear he was on prior to round 3 here. is now immediately denied and unable to contribute to the clutch in those final moments of the round, when BDS is given far too much map control in the first minute or two and just slowly surrounds the site. Even inside of that security push, for example, the player, I believe it was KZ, on the inside of the kitchen, rotates directly into the waiting arms of two members of BDS, so it just fell out of their control far too quickly. And unfortunately, by the end of it, they did not stand a chance due to the lack of control that the defenders themselves had.
No shot.
Oh, he's here.
No frickin' shot, man.
Probably is the drone that spotted him. They know he's here. So.
I mean, listen, they were gonna know no matter what, man. That's the king right there, stomping around the map. And also, the recoil, or rather the report from his LMG here, is probably one of the most unique sounds in the game. When you hear that, it's like hearing Glaz's rifle. You're like, oh, that's a Glaz. So
he is going to need to try and stay alive, though, given the fact oh man.
Sorry,
like he
my bad.
tries to go for another incredible timing play. Just a bit off the mark, unfortunately, as that player's backed up a bit too far. But back to what I was saying, there's no smoke currently, nor is there a Goyo on this defensive lineup. So KZ taking a bit of a risk by standing out that far, as they are going to need all those incendiaries for the usual delay utility here in the final, like 30, 40 seconds.
He is the danger, Skylar, all right?
Yes, yeah.
He is the one who knocks.
So they're going to create this little bit of a construction bunker for themselves to play out of. BDS has responded to that by just pretty much probably going the opposite way, although we are still going to see the E-hatch get open.
The Human Torch. Every day. Which kit does he have on? Is that the Elite? I don't think it is.
I couldn't see it close enough, to be honest with you.
I don't know.
I think it might have been one of the team skins.
No.
It looked like it was orange and black, so I don't know if Fnatic has a skin for him. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, they do. I actually have a Fnatic's skin, at least for the gun.
I can't tell. It's too dark is the problem. So.
Get off the ground, kid! Trying to see what you're wearing. Dude, I actually don't know. It looks like one of the anime skins. It's got to be from like the last 2 years of esports skins. Because, I mean, like, listen, guys, I do love your skins, but can one of y'all get original? Like,
no, we've had some pretty cool
We've had a
ones.
couple of original ones, but like, bro, it feels like somebody makes like a really cool version of one, and then everybody just copies that one for the next one. And it's like, guys,
there's themes I've noticed we rotate through.
Yeah, like back in the day when Team Secret literally made their own black ice skin, I was like, all right, guys, come on. Like, what are we doing here?
We got BDS barreling through the top clear right now, already with a few hatches open to try and work for their downstairs play, and more than likely going to commit to it now. Greedy starting to work himself downstairs, but immediately you can hear those little mines landing on the ground. Right, it's grenades from KZ. He's going to burn out at least the inside of Laundry to start things out. 3 more go down after that one to block out the secondary angle. He's got plenty more still in the chamber here. KZ has got delay for days here. He's able to stay alive and, more importantly, maintain the angles necessary to get those incendiaries onto the ground.
Ooh, Shaiko. Lots of damage off onto KZ. Very, very lucky is KZ. Shaiko, he pushes forward and he finds him right around the fire. We're going to have to go to the radio broadcast here, folks. It is a 3 versus 3. Shaiko's still going to be inside of Freezer. We do have one over on the back stairs. It's going to be Renshiro, but EFAC is going to be the first one to get the next kill. JV92 inside of Laundry. He's going to be the lone soul as he picks up EFAC, but he's only got a revolver in his hands. One coming up the Laundry hallway, but he can't get it done as Shaiko will shut him down on the rotation. Whenever the ARX is in his hands, Shaiko's the most deadly one in the server.
BDS continuing to bring things back under their own control, as now we go back to that dead heat yet again. A 2-2 scoreline here, now in the first half, bringing it back. Seems like they have truly met with even odds against w7m, and it is really anyone's game and series at this point. w7m dropped the ball, but feel it was a close enough affair to go for a reattempt on that same site. We do have a very short little tech pause here, folks. Of course, we work our primary observer back into the game. Shouldn't be more than a few seconds here for us to redeploy. Do I think a w7m member is going to take this as an opportunity to quickly reset their client as well? So give us just a second, and then we'll be back in with round number 5, which, as I mentioned previously, is looking like it's going to be another basement defense from w7m, unless they change their selection here over the next few seconds. Here's the replays once more, folks. You can see a better look at this execute one final time. Once more, BDS just slowly overwhelming the player count from w7m on the inside of it. Just not enough fire coming back from the defensive side of things. And as well, those more extended positions falling immediately. So the gambit that w7m go for just does not pay off. And drop another very important round, but hopefully a chance for redemption to be shown up pretty much immediately as they go right back towards it here on round number 5. w7m, in the meanwhile, here is also going to move away.
Listen here, sir. Yeah. You should call it on the ball right now. Who's taking it? Right now, John. Right now. Who's taking it?
I think we're trending BDS.
We're trending BDS? Are you locking it in?
I'm gonna say like 70-30 BDS right now.
Oh, so we can't go percentages. That's not how this works.
Well, that means I'm predicting BDS.
Okay,
I'm just telling you, like, you know, that's how strongly I
Listen, man, I'm from the Midwest. You got to be straightforward. It's a yes or no answer, all right?
It was a yes. If it's over 50%, then yeah.
All right, asshole, come on. All right, so, and we go here in the second, or rather fifth round, tied 2-2. John's got BDS, and honestly, I have to agree with you. I definitely feel as though we are trending BDS's way. Not that w7m can't bring this back, but for Oregon defenses as of right now, this is not looking hot.
It's like we were very reliant on individuals, it seems, prior to this for w7m. The individuals that were stepping up are no longer there. We do, to be fair, again, we do have other people stepping up to the challenge. Like JV92 is having a knockout game right now, but that's the problem, is it's very like hit or miss on the individual player count right now, and it seems very reliant on those individual players to get things done, so it's kind of swinging hit or miss. It's a bit hard.
Oh, they're swinging something all right. They're swinging that big old bat right into friggin' main right now.
Lucky Fact trying to play it out.
God.
All right. w7m are going to shut me up real quick. Herds goes for the big bedroom swing and knocks out Lucky Fact early on here in round 5.
What the hell was that, man? What a moment in Master there. That was so crazy. I'm sure this is going to...
Okay, Herds.
Y'all better stop playing with this man right now. He's going to keep body bagging you, dude. He's going to stack you on top of each other.
Thought he had a fast one there, but nope, the footsteps are too obvious, and Herds just slaps right into him. Knocks him down. Oh, okay, that was easy for Shaiko. That's just
it wasn't even Herds.
Save for KZ. He's got a second one here, too. He knows he's there. You can't just beat him the kills. Shaiko with 2 more on the board. He's up to a 2.0 KD now at 6-3 currently, as well as evening out the player count for this round down to a 3v3.
I mean, I was going to make a joke about Herds running out of room to stack him, but it seems like it's Shaiko instead, dude. Oh, my. Very quickly locking down the bodies upstairs. Into the 3v3 we go. Both of these teams have been so dynamic when it comes to moments like this. It's really hard to call on the ball as to who's actually going to win this out. I'm still with you as BDS is more than likely going to take this one.
Like I said, we're trending BDS.
Yes.
So we could trend the other direction real quick, too.
Is it cutting back 60-40 now? It's 30.
It's active odds being updated here. I'll tell you soon. But
yeah, we're gonna have to keep your Vegas odds live.
Free day, having to go for the crouch spam here on the hatch, make sure he pops it open. Slow play to build up towards that, but here's going to be the problem. Obviously, this hatch opening will be incredibly telegraphed. He'll be very much alone in this procedure, but he has attracted a lot of attention from w7m. It could end up being a slight overcommitment from players on the back end. However, it does look like BDS are going to go for a full 1-1-1 split. One player pushing the back end, one trying to push Laundry. And obviously, you can see here, Alems trying to work himself in. Taking a little bit of damage, of course, from the incendiaries over here by the freezer side of things, but no one able to find an actual impactful entry just yet to move any one of these 3 positions forward, and that's a big issue now, with just 15 seconds left to go. Alems is still being burned out, but finally, he forges through the fire to get himself another opening kill on this play. JV92 trades in Free shuts down number 2, and Alems locks in the third. Beautiful take, and a risky one at that, as they split all 3 of their players up, but all 3 strike true with at least 1 kill to lock down the round.
It goes from bad to worse for w7m on these defensive rounds. This is the most pivotal moment when it comes to Oregon gameplay. You have got to, at a minimum, win your defense is out 4-2. Otherwise, things can get really, really murky very fast. And BDS are looking to take it 4-2 on the offensive side, potentially giving themselves the easiest road to try and traverse going into their defensive half. We'll just have to see. Some fantastic shots from Herds up here. Look at this one right here. That was the one that I just, wow, what tracking right through that paneling there. But then they immediately give it over to Shaiko. So, I mean,
just craters himself, unfortunately, assuming that it would have been safe to rotate back down through Arsenal there. Certainly not the case, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't put more emphasis on checking that, considering that Shaiko has very commonly gone for that garage push to start the rounds off for himself personally, and again, doubly so on garage takes, so that one should
I'm just very surprised that they were so quick to try and drop that with really no info base going on. Like, they saw that the door was open and all that kind of stuff, and they're like, oh, I guess they're just not there. And, like, I understand trying to get the refrag, but also at the same time, you could have just played the neutral move and wasted more time upstairs, maybe make a rotation over to white. You know, there's so many different options there, minus trying to just immediately try and frag out Shaiko, especially when he has that ARX, dude. That gun does so much damn damage.
fact, they literally killed Shaiko in that position a few rounds prior, if I remember correctly, so should have certainly had the intel. Maybe they thought they could just directly challenge him, but certainly not the case. Did not seem to have the right read on it as they drop down, as obviously the first player goes down outright, and the second one gives his challenge over to try and trade unsuccessfully. Quick control here for Like a Fact as he moves himself in towards T3 with the Gara hook and swings downwards after that one. Already going to pop open the backside of Meeting. Felipox in the meanwhile also being challenged from his position on the inside here, but a little bit more passively so by the members of BDS, just because they don't want to get within.
There it is. Sorry, I was confused about the window. I was like, when's the window coming in? Like,
yeah.
Anyways.
Probably popped open now, and that should lock Felipox into that position over by Showers here. Potentially force him to rotate back a bit prematurely as well here if he wants to go all the way over towards Kitchen. And
Lems and KZ exist in like the same zip code right now. Neither one of them know though. KZ's actually going to traverse upstairs. Bride, camera, find it. There we go. All right, get rid of that. I'll skirt back upstairs, back to where the actual defensive site is. Looks like Lems is a little worried about Armory. Nice little cheeky angle here in case anybody does want to try and rotate in. They still have plenty of time to try and dissect this site. Renshiro taking a lot of damage, but he really needs to stay alive, John. And Dokkaebi Call is worth its weight in gold, especially the later we get into this round.
Lems with the swing and the shot to knock out Felipox. He'd been locked in there for some time. Finally able to succeed in locking in the kill.
0-6 now as well from his previous game where he was 18-7.
And that was a big problem I was talking about earlier. Is, again, some of these big stars, which have been present for the first two maps, are struggling hugely here in map number 3. Just not doing it as a consistent task here for these guys to step up to the plate. The good news is, like I said before, others are answering the challenge to some extent, mainly JV92 right now. But they're going to need to keep doing so. Keep w7m in at least contention to win the series here. Nice shots from Like a Fag as he pops open the window. Just has his pick of the litter when it comes to targets there, as he has another one to his hard right as well. That player has tucked away for the time being, so he's going to be relatively safe. That will limit any of the potential aggression that could come out from Like a Fag. But speaking of aggression, Nade goes directly into the face of one of the members of BDS, unsuccessfully takes the duel. Like a Fag did end up going down, but
Nitro.
not fully knocked out just yet. Shaiko as well with a kill against KZ in the plant. Almost confirmed, indeed. Herds will be the last to fall down on a double cross. It'll be another round from BDS.
The French powerhouse continues to propel themselves forward. It's going to be a 4-2 half on the offensive side of Oregon, and now things get deadly for w7m. They've consumed the poison. I got to try and get this anti-venom, John, this figured out for themselves, see if they can potentially heal this wound that they have created. It is definitely festering. BDS really just depends on how they get things started here on this defensive end. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a basement defense and we're able to kind of cheat and get ahead of you guys here on the broadcast. So I can tell you, it is. We are indeed downstairs.
Good news for w7m once again, if things do go for the worst, is that this is, of course, still an upper bracket qualification game, so they are going to have that one additional best of 3 later today, important to note here, to try and qualify. That'll be the bigger issue for them, is the fact they're going to have to play a second best of 3 here on the same day. We'll have to see if they'll be up for the challenge. And of course, we'll have to see if that ends up going that direction in the first place. Still quite a few rounds needed for BDS to be able to pick up the overall map win, but now they're on the defensive side of Oregon with a lead and a 2-round one at that. It's quite a nice base to build up for, especially if they lock in their initial site choice down in the basement.
Okay. Well, let's walk through this slow, see what w7m can accomplish. They brought the Capital, they've got the Hatch Queen, a little soft destruction as well as JB92 just to back things up and make sure that these hatches do get open in case things go awry. Decent amount of stuns as well as some frag grenades here. Like the decisions that have been made on w7m's roster for the operator lineup. As for BDS, you can definitely say the same. This is pretty routine when it comes to a basement defense. This is practically everything you could ever ask for when it comes to a lineup like this, especially without Wamai working his way in. I've been seeing quite a few teams kind of work their way from bringing Jaeger and Wamai, and it seems like every single time they do that, somebody gets blown up on site with a frag grenade. Wouldn't you know, John? It's so crazy. It's almost like they make an operator for that or something. But fortunately enough, BDS will bring it this time around, and it's due to that harsh execute utility that you usually see brought on this basement site. And will definitely assist at least a tad bit when it comes down to some of this utility, but I mean, w7m have so many stuns to try and burn out these Wamai discs.
KZ will back up from that freezer angle for the time being. Does not want to overextend yet again here. Some of the same mistakes we'd seen done by w7m previously, where they push themselves a bit too far into the map, but then unfortunately end up getting pushed into a fight that they're not really prepared for. That leads to a deficit And the domino effect takes over from that point forward. So not falling victim to that. It's a slow windup yet again here for our attackers now. They look to try and maintain this base positioning. A few of those nades getting gobbled up as they try to work their way down towards it, but Philippok's going to try to lead the charge here. It's been a rough game so far for Philippok. Maybe now on the attacking side is going to be up for changing things in the other direction. Not a great start though. Herds gets caught early on here trying to play around that E-hatch, I do believe. Likeyfac will take a lot of damage in response to it, but he's still alive and can now play a very passive position on site. Maintain his life force for a linear battle here. w7m and now try to work this from a deficit. Still plenty of time for them to work it, but not going to be too confident of a play here. The deficit there now sustaining. All the smokes don't even work out the way they need them to as well. 2, 3 more kills. Full 4 of them go onto the board and a flawless hold from BDS to start out the second half and double down on the lead they've already sustained from the first half. 5-2 is now the lead for them with just 2 rounds to go to end the series.
You never see a one-way smoke when it comes to Siege, just because of how our smoke works in comparison to other games. But with Capital's arrow and the way that it works, and the fact that you can smack the top end of walls and stuff, the smoke will essentially float. It works out on the pillar position, John, and he shoots the guy right through the smoke. All he has to do is see his feet. A little Counter-Strike callback right there. Fantastic stuff. As w7m quickly made into mincemeat by BDS. There it is yet again. A perfect smoke position. Manshiro able to play the bottom of that and catch the player dropping down into the hatch. That smoke was practically useless. And BDS bodied w7m on every single entry point.
Just outright denied completely on the entry game there. You can see the hype that's built up from BDS and pulling off a round like that. This is a stark contrast to what we had in maps 1 and 2, where w7m were just constantly bullying out early positions from BDS and pulling off near flawless executes every single time. It was literally the opposite, especially if we look back over to Chalet, and now it's completely flipped. It's BDS maintaining full control. And that's a bad sign for w7m and their potential outcome of this series here. Let's see if they can rebound, as they just took that tactical pause, of course, for themselves. Really, at the final moment, they could have taken it here, too. They need to really spin this around and do so very quickly. One more round, BDS surely should be able to lock in their 7, potentially 5 rounds, or rather 4 rounds in a row to try and lock it in, assuming they get this one.
And w7m need to get Nick DeVries out the car, man. Put Danny Rick in there. Little F1 meme for you guys at home. There you go. You're welcome. I know Anne's happy about that one. She was watching. But yeah, w7m need to find their honey badger for sure. Get things going for themselves. That offense was a shell of what we expect out of w7m, especially from what we've been seeing across these last 2 days. They have been disgusting. But as we saw from BDS yesterday up against Oxygen, and I mean, honestly, something I'd like to touch on as well. I genuinely think that BDS kind of got blessed with the way that Oxygen was playing yesterday, because they were playing pretty tragically. It was not going very well for them. They were not happy with the way they were playing, and it made it a very, very easy game for BDS, which made it to where the very first game that they played, or rather first map they played against w7m, it was just so very difficult because it was like a whole different world.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Oxygen playing kind of directly into the hands of BDS, it seemed in a lot of those rounds yesterday. But I think they realized that they're going to be in better shape for the rematch they may get later in the tournament. w7m off to a better start as well here on round number 8. As they find a nice kill to start things out against Shaiko. Eliminates that long-range shot that could have come in, of course, from the Mark V. And no other aggression, of course, to come out from Shaiko because of that as well. Still a few wrinkles to deal with, though, such as those Gershmat entry points that they're going to have to get past that Bride has set up. Bride also playing on the shotgun Ella as well, so more than likely going to be a pretty brutal angle set up for Bride to play into here. The w7m are going to have to try and find a way past. Nade out for Philippok, but I think it's based on old info, unfortunately, so it's not going to do any damage.
Very unfortunate. He does still have 1 frag grenade, though, so they can utilize that a little bit later on down the line as he meets his demise. You have quite a few drones still up and about too, so should be able to at least suss out EFAC. He's done so much damage to Herds. He's going to try and swing back into it, but the teammate, he's already there, and they'll finally be able to claim him. But not before Lems takes down JV92.
He wanted that kill against Herds so bad after he saw that silencer poke out. He's like, I know he's in this corner, but just couldn't get the little angle needed on the shotgun there, unfortunately. Gives himself away to Herds instead. And flips that back the other way. So 4v3 advantage for w7m now. Bride, Rachiro, and Lem are going to try to hold the line for BDS. Lock in round number 6 if they can pull off the comeback here. Still over a minute to go, though. There's a lot of time for w7m to potentially burn out and still use to gather additional intel before they commit themselves to the inside of this side as well. KZ with a big swing. Unfortunately, right into the few members of BDS, and a bit of an absent-minded toss there on the Selma. Does not shoot out the ADS directly in front of him. Burn that down for the time being,
Oh,
but
no,
Ovo once again goes
KZ.
directly into the angle for Lems, gives him a shot. Good follow through from Philippe Pox, though, does not give Lems time to recover. Philippe Pox does the same thing again, but has to lose Herds in order to pick it up. Renshiro now down, the 2v1, that's the good news here for W7Ms. They do have that extra player, so they can afford to do this right now. Bride sits alone here, finally rotating back up, but here's the problem, like I said before, it's Shotgun Ella. So does not have the range realistically needed to take this fight and stop the plant from going down on the ground. Attempt to rush back in. The sight here now. Okay, all right, maybe he doesn't need that rifle after all. Instant headshot on the first one. Now he can close the gap. Trying to use the shotty. And there we go! The spam from the FO12 shuts down Nade, and it's a brilliant retake from BDS to lock in map and match point.
All right, whichever one of y'all put extended barrel on the Evo 12, that was so wrong. That was just so foul. He actually one-shot him, John. As soon as he peeked that door with that hip fire, he downed him immediately with the first shotgun shell.
You gotta empty it, though.
I mean, yeah. It's semi-automatic. Just keep going, baby, right? Listen, I'm going to keep shooting until you die or it stops working. I mean, like, that's tick, tick, tick. Oh, better reload, you know?
So a round that finally seemed like W7M were locking in some proficient power on their entries. We were only the second attacking round, but it was looking a lot better than what we saw in the basement, but not enough with that Ella clutch potential. Coming back in from Bride to save the day here. Still keep BDS in dominant control. They have 4 attempts to end this in regulation. W7M now needs to win 4 in a row just to trigger OT.
Yeah, Bride has always had that Michael Jordan clutch gene. He's the one you want taking the shot at the end of the game. Almost every single time. The pressure never gets to him, and you can just see the faces of all of his teammates like, oh my God, you just did that. That's incredible. Look at the relief on Renshiro's face, and not so much for W7M.
Yeah, W7M just angry it happened. Unfortunately, nothing you can do about it, though. Forget about it for now. Worry about it in the post-game, as you still have potentially 4 more rounds at least to play out here for W7M to keep their upper bracket qualification hopes alive. If not, they're going to be going down into that lower bracket position. We'll have to play in the final match, I believe, a little bit later on today. Let's get into it here. BDS not going to give us too much of a surprise again when it comes to their operator lines. It's been a pretty straightforward game for both the teams when it comes to the defensive compositions. Backing compositions, you can say very much the same thing about them, although we're getting that sprinkle, of course, of the guard hook every once in a while. Even that, though, has become kind of an expected thing to some extent for some teams here on Oregon, so it's more, not a huge amount of surprises shown up there. But speaking of surprise, it's a quick hop into the dorms here for at least one member of W7M. Caught out, but Philippe Pox is able to capture a trade in the chaos of that. Knocks out Shaiko, but it's at the cost of KZ. So unfortunately, W7M not making a huge amount of progress here. Like, in fact, playing on the bottom of the white stairs, could have himself another duel against that white stairs window position. He's holding it back for now. Bride as well, looking to try and capture at least one player with this Nitro. Opposition, unfortunately, some minimal damage will be done.
Trying to go for the audio play. All it does is create more verticality for W7M. More than likely be able to use back onto BDS when they're starting to set up for their execution. But who says we even get to that bridge? Gotta get up the road first. W7M have had trouble with just that. BDS have time and time again been able to take it to them. Closest opportunity for their offense was that last round where Bride was able to nip it in the bud. Now, W7M looking to build up yet another opportunity for themselves, and they'll take down a Lems. It's left up to the final 3 on BDS.
W7M waiting this one out nice and patiently here. They know they've approached this properly here, but at the same time, they know they've got a good chance to close it down, given that this is the tertiary site for BDS. Plant position has already been maintained as well. Nade going for it. It's all about the OBJ at this point, but Nade very much on an island. He's almost certainly going to die moving out from this position too, so he just stays on top of the case and is able to survive at least one player pushing him. Like, in fact, goes down. Renshiro does trade out for JV92, and now Nade, the planter, falls as well. The good news is, though, both the remaining W7M players have a top-down overwatch on this plant position, so it's going to be nigh impossible for BDS to retake it, even given the kills they just found for themselves a few seconds prior. That's why Bride rotates back up here. The drone's already going to preface his rotate, however, so they know he's coming. I believe the second player just got hit by an impact, so they know that he's rotating as well. One player on the inside of Dorm just falls back downstairs as a clean pickup. Of course, we'll go 1 for 1 from Herd. That's all right here, given that now we can see Bride has to stick. He may have gotten onto it just in time, but if he hops off it, that's it. That's the round over. So a quick shot from Philippe Pox here. Locks in the first out of 4 needed for W7M to come back.
All right, well, they at least got one on the board here on the offensive side. I don't want to start singing their praises just yet because, like I was saying, we have a long, long time ahead of us here for them to try and build this back up. But mean, it doesn't mean it can't be done. I mean, we've seen BDS force things to OT and then end up taking a map. Be the same thing here for w7m as they are looking to try and stay in the winning side of this tournament.
Back to mainstay sites, however, for BDS. That's going to be the big issue now, of course, is w7m win this one. BDS are spread out thinly from the very beginning of this round just by the nature of the fact they're playing on the inside of Kitchen, and that created a much more palatable environment for w7m in the opening few moments, just because you had players kind of off on their lonesome for BDS. BDS still very closely trading it, even given that, though, it was mainly just that proper positioning that w7m played into that allowed them to win things out here, is that it was just far too difficult of a clutch to work, given the amount of rotation BDS had to pull off just to find the remaining members of w7m there in the post play. Full repick is going to come through here as well for w7. You guys can't spot that as we're still out of game, but what we had initially is not what we're going to have. As you can see it here now, every single member of the team is switching away, and it's not even like we're switching roles either. Every single operator has changed up for this basement attack. So let's see if it's going to yield results once again for w7m.
Well, 15 seconds in here into this one. w7m, this top floor. Such a full clear coming through here. Not too much of a roam game happening from BDS, though, from what we initially saw. Looks like we do have some camera work, obviously, happening around the building as we're trying to see where this clear is coming from. Friends will break up some of the boards here. KZ, actually, be perfectly fine. Is there for just a split second, thought we were on a defensive pop coming up that main stairs. And I was like, oh, this might be a problem. But nope, everything okay. w7m actually have full control of the top two floors. BDS have chosen to turtle downstairs, which is, I mean, you referenced this earlier, probably the smartest thing that you can do when it comes to this site. Same thing with the bank setup we were talking about actually with that that motion. But here on Oregon, you can say the exact same thing. This basement setup is so very potent, especially when you just keep all your bodies down low with solid utility, and that's exactly what BDS has done here.
So as w7m once again look to try and lock in next of the 3 rounds needed. Bring things back under their own control. It's heavy emphasis on the drone play here in the middle round, just to try and see exactly what type of defensive lineup our members of BDS have gone for. They've got a good idea of it now. They're starting to line up to begin posturing for aggression, mainly with that Glaz currently being played by KZ, establishing the cross from the inside of Library.
He knocks out the Warden goggles.
Yep, and there we go. The Warden's been pushed back here. KZ has free reign to spot into this. As soon as he stops moving, of course, he can't see through it when he is mobile. But no! The collapse from Alems and Bride to shut down both the players pushing in from Laundry. It's down to a 4v2, 4v1. And that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. BDS lock down the series after 3 very long maps, and they will qualify through to our playoff stage.
Congratulations to BDS, but they're not done just yet. Still a lot of siege to be had at this tournament from BDS, and a lot of money as well still on the line. w7m have a chance later on today to make it to our playoff stage, as they will be facing off against none other than Oxygen, that knocked out Cyclops earlier on today on the Bravo stream. Fantastic gameplay out of both of these squads. Bride and the gang not really putting it together on the first map, John, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They woke up through those last 2 maps and really showcased just how talented this roster is.
Commiserations, of course, to w7m, who play a heck of a series. Realistically, could have been a 2-0 with the way things were going. Not only did they take solid control of our first map at 7-4, but then they went up 3-0 on map number 2. Ultimately, not enough, though, as we see BDS battle back on that bank second map, and then take full control, continue to do so as their players continue to shine, whereas unfortunately the brighter stars from w7m faltered a bit, especially Fleetbox here on map number 3. Some other players tried to step up to pick up the slack, mainly in the form of JB92. Had one heck of a map here. Unfortunately, once again, just could not fit together. That's going to close things out, ladies and gentlemen, for us on this game, but we're going to go down to the stage where we have an interview with our winners.
Here we are again. Alems once again center stage here. I mean, for a while, w7m have had your number. They had it at SI, and then in Jönköping, they were about to make it what felt like 4 wins on the bounce for them when it comes to your personal record against them. And now you've broken that curse, but not only that, you've booked your spot in the playoffs. During map 2, did you think, ooh, we might not be able to make this happen?
During map 2? Yeah, to be honest, it was to be honest, in the first map, we start very slow. And we came with a plan to play against them because, like you said, we always lost against them. So we had to figure it out how to play against them. We had the plan set up for today. We tried to do it on Chalet, the first map, but it didn't work and we were playing very bad, to be honest. And at the second map, during the second map, I was starting to call things more about how to attack, how to play against them. I totally understand how they play the map, and then we managed to win. And then I assumed that it was the same playstyle on Oregon, and it was the same playstyle. And so I totally kind of call Oregon the way we have to play, and it works. And I'm so happy to finally beat them because this is a team that this is maybe the best team in the world.
For sure.
Like they have a consistency that is amazing. And this is the first time we beat them on the best of 3, so I'm very proud of my team and me.
لمز عندنا مرة ثانية في المسرح في السنتر ستيج، كنا قاعد يسولف معنا على ايش صار في الجيم الماضية. ذكرنا له انه دائما في كل الميجرز السابقة كل مرة نشوف انه لمز يواجه فريق w7m او حتى فريق BDS، اذا واجهوا فريق w7m دائما يكون عندهم الفرصة انهم يفوزون عليهم في كل المياجر، لكن المرة هذه قدروا انهم ياخذون الفوز. فايش كان قاعد يصير في الماب الثاني وايش صار في الماب الثالث؟ قالوا بكل بساطة انه في ماب شاليه احنا يعني ما قدرنا اننا نلعب بشكل كويس، لعبنا كان جدا سيء، وكان هذا يرجع انه ما احنا عارفين نسوي اداب طريقة البلاي ستايل حق w7m، خصوصا انهم هم الفريق اللي يعتبر الافضل في العالم. لكن بعد ما خلصنا الماب الاول خلصنا الماب الثاني قدروا انهم يستوعبون كيف يقدرون يسوون ادابت على فريق w7m اكثر. في الماب الثالث عرفوا كيف يلعبون الرقم بشكل كويس وقدروا ياخذون الوين بالاخير.
You're a very modest and humble man, and yesterday I asked you, are there any teams out here that you specifically, see as rivals? You did actually say behind the scenes when we caught up a little bit later on, G2, they're no longer in this tournament, and now you've just, as you just said yourself, beaten arguably the best team in the world. With G2 out, world champions, you've just potentially beat the best team in the world. You must be absolutely brimming with confidence right now that you can go all the way.
Yeah, to be honest, like I said yesterday in the interview, we are not focusing on winning, we just play. To be honest, when we were starting winning on Oregon, I was, to be honest, personally, I was starting to think that we can possibly win against them. So I think it motivates everyone. And like I said before, yeah, w7m is, for me, even though G2 is very good, maybe they won SI, right? But w7m, for this consistency, they have to be, for me, the best team in the world. And yeah, I'm so happy.
لمز امس في المقابله في المسرح سالناه مين الفريق اللي ممكن يشوف انه اكثر تهديد لكم، لكن بنفس الوقت ما اعطانا اجابه صريحه. قال انه لا والله كل الفرق يعتبرون تهديد بالنسبه لنا، لكن يوم راح اخذناه خلف المسرح سولفنا معه قال والله انا كنت خايف من فريق G2 esports انه ممكن هم يكونون الابوننت الاساسي بالنسبه لنا، لكن اليوم شفناهم ما هم موجودين في البطوله بعد ما خسروا قدام فريق فالكونز، والان عندهم فرصه انهم يواجهون فريق w7m، وزي ما قال لمز انه يعتبرون افضل فريق في العالم، فاكيد انه بيكون شيء بيعطينا دافع معنوي جدا كبير اننا نقدر نستمر في البطوله، ممكن اننا نقدر اننا نفوز فيها مره ثانيه.
And then finally from me, the only other team to right now also have a spot in the playoffs, M80. What do you make of them? Because obviously potentially if you want to go all the way, there's a good chance you'll come up against them.
To be honest, like I said yesterday, we respect all the teams. M80, we didn't play them, I think, in official matches, but we practiced them a few times. They are a very aggressive team. They have good individualities. So we need to have some work to see how they played and stuff, to maybe adapt a bit. And yeah, if we face them, I think it will be a great match. And if we face them, let's go, I can't wait.
سألنا إلمز عن مباراتهم ضد فريق M80. إلى الآن ما بعد صارت رسميا، لكن بما أنهم تأهلوا للبلاي أوفس و M80 تأهلوا للبلاي أوفس في مباراتهم بالأمس آخر مباراة معنا في نهاية اليوم، كان الآن في فرصة جدا عالية أنهم راح يواجهون بعض. سألنا وش ممكن تفكر عن الفريق وش ممكن تسوي قدام الفريق هذا؟ جوابه كان يكون بكل بساطة انه احنا صراحة ما قد واجهناهم في مباراة رسمية، احنا قدرنا اننا نلعب معهم سكريمات اكثر من مرة ونتدرب معهم، لكن ما ندري ايش اللي ممكن نسويه في المباراة الفعلية، بس هم فريق جدا اجريسيف، هم فريق عندهم مهارات فردية جدا عالية، وبتكون المباراة حقتهم جدا رهيبة.
Well, Elems, I can see you're absolutely buzzing, and I know that you want to go celebrate with your teammates what was a very impressive win there over w7m. You're very close. Just a couple more series away from potentially becoming our back-to-back Gamers8 champions. Congratulations. What we're going to do now is we're going to cross over back to the desk to just talk through what was a really entertaining best of 3 there.
بعد ما انتهينا الان من المقابله اعزائنا المشاهدين بنرجع لاستديو التحليلي نتكلم عن البست اوف 3 الرهيبه اللي شاهدناها احنا 3 مابات كانت جدا جدا كلوز خصوصا انه الان فريق BDS قدامهم فقط مباريتين على انهم يكونون الباك تو باك تشامبيونز معنا في بطوله جيمرز 8 بالتوفيق لهم ان شاء الله على طول نرجع لاستديو التحليلي.
Thank you, Ian, LMs, and El Fancy. An insightful interview to say the absolute least, because it does put into perspective the fact that BDS is on the right track to be the back-to-back champions of Gamers8. And this was definitely one of the hurdles in the way. LM saying it himself, w7m is probably the best team in the world simply because of that consistency factor that they're bringing. So the fact that they were able to close this out, especially in such a fashion on Oregon, that is very impressive from their end of things.
Yeah, I mean, we thought that the momentum maybe was in their favor. w7m won the first 2 rounds of that map with a 1v1 from JV92, or 1v2 from him actually. That could have turned out the other way around, and then BDS managed to win 6 rounds in a row. And as mentioned during the interview as well, LM said like, oh, you know, halfway through Oregon, we felt like we could win against w7m potentially. I turned to you and I said, well, it's pretty late into the matchup, but yeah, you said, I mean, I'd imagine they didn't want to think about that before, because it is the current major champions. They are a really, really strong team, so to take them down, that must feel really confident for BDS.
Yeah, and I think that confidence is only exemplified by the fact that they came into that map with a plan, right? They had a strategy. Lem's talked about it in the interview. You know, they knew how w7m were going to play. They read them like a book, and they got those 6 rounds in a row all because of it. You know, they really did read in to how w7m wanted to play. I think those basement defenses, we're seeing a replay of one of them now, this round 5, really were going the way of BDS when they were able to go for those attacks. I thought Shaiko was a big part of that reason why. When they were trying to anchor in, you know, when w7m were trying to play a full, more passive strategy with the Tachanka instead of Freezer, Shaiko was running past, finding good entries, getting his team that early kind of aggression to get them into the site. And then when they switched that up, they just said, you know, let's try something different. Let's try to roam. Shaiko again came around, stopped that couple of opening picks from going the opposite direction that they were initially looking. And so for Shaiko to consistently be able to go in, find those frags, work off the intel from his team, work with the plan that they had established ahead of time, it really did make it look so easy against what was absolutely the best team in the world.
Exactly, yeah, you mentioned Shaiko, obviously a very good performance, and then LM's on the side as well. Bride had a really good 1v2 as well on that map, and whereas if you look on the other side, Philippox, who's had a really good map 1 and 2, he found himself going 0-5 at one point. So whereas you are expecting for him to step up, carry potentially the weight of his team, as he was doing in map 1 and 2 single-handedly, not saying the others didn't do anything, but he had insane stats. And that not to happen on the 3rd map when you need it the most, that's unfortunate. Whereas on the side of BDS, it seems that they got all fronts covered, because Bride, for example, didn't have the greatest of first maps, but he did step up on that last map and had a beautiful clutch, for example, as well.
Yeah, so what was the biggest difference, besides the fact that potentially one of these players from w7m not really showing up, between the first game that we've seen where it was such a dominant performance, everybody really seemed to be in the zone, and the final game where BDS was just able to win 6 rounds back-to-back, to-back.
I mean, I think it's just the way a best of 3 runs out, right? We started on the map pick of w7m. They played a great game. They dominated map number 1. Map number 2, you know, I kind of built up this epic between Philippox and Lickifat going forward, and, you know, we had great play from both teams, but I think eventually Philippox having that massive impact got them through map 2. And then, as Anne said, map number 3, it took 8 rounds for Philippox to find a single kill. And you can see, like, he didn't end too bad. What is that on the stat line? 4 and 9?
Yeah. Oh, you got good eyesight.
It's all right, right? But, I mean, having no impact for so long through the game, especially after carrying your team through map number 2, a result like this is kind of inevitable when that's happening to your star player.
It's also a little bit heartbreaking, right? Because they've given their everything on those first 2 maps, and they weren't really able to close it out on Bank, so they had to get to Oregon. Maybe at that point, fatigue kicking in a little bit.
Obviously, I mean, yeah, it was a long series and you just suffered a loss indeed on that 2nd map, so you have to come back from that mentally as well. Another thing, if you look back at those stat lines, for example, JV92, the only player to go positive, obviously helped a little bit with the clutch that he had. If you think about the Copenhagen Major and the stat that I mentioned at the beginning of this game, that they were the only team that had all players go positive for the longest of times during the Copenhagen Major. The fact that there's only 1 player going positive now in KD, that is, I mean, a whole lot different. Yeah, it is.
It's like a different world as well that we've seen from the players of w7m, and it also brings the question in terms of how far did BDS push them to their limits for them to actually end up in this position, because again, BDS winning this, yes, they drop a map in this series, maybe not an undefeated run like they had last year, but they still are yet to lose a series, and they're with M80 right now in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think for a team beating w7m, right, like so many teams have tried, and I think you really need to beat them on two fronts. You've got to come in with a really solid plan, which BDS, as we heard the interview, absolutely did. You've got to know what's going to happen in the series and counteract their playstyle. But you've also got to have the raw skill and mechanics to beat them on those fights, right? Like, you can know what they're going to do, but if you're losing the gunfights anyways, if KZ's rolling over you, if you're letting Felipox get back-to-back clutches, you're not going to be able to handle this team. And BDS, one of the few teams in the world that can put both of those together. Today they did that. I have a feeling they might meet w7m again later in the tournament when we get to the playoffs. We'll see how the bracket looks and all that. But yeah, an absolutely fantastic showing coming through from BDS to start here, and I'm very excited to see a team finally take down our giants in w7m.
Yeah, also a lot of great performances coming out from individual players from the side of BDS. We said that coming into today, players like Shaiko, like LeakyFag, those are two players that the team very much relies on. And especially this series, LeakyFag has such a big impact on the way these rounds played out, these very crucial moments that genuinely made them secure the spot.
Yeah, I think back about that clutch, for example, on Bank, that 1v3 with the Fender, the quick thinking, that's something you really got to commend, right? Because going into the Copenhagen Major, that was his first major, so he's not been playing competitive for all that long, as we could say. But the fact that you have that adaptability, that you can think fast, you can change your plans fast, and, oh, I have a Fender in my back pocket, let me put it out, let me just go for a full rotate on the map. That's really good to see. I mean, obviously, it was good to hear that LMs was calling out more in that second map and in that third map, because they need him to be vocal in that regard as well. It does help the team into getting those frags, and Shaiko being really consistent in those three maps, that is what we wanted, because I spoke about the concern, oh, if he does have those inconsistent performances, the team doesn't really have that stable person to rely on other than LeakyFag.
Yeah, absolute beast, of course. We're seeing his highlights now. I think really did pop off and kind of carried them through. Bank was absolutely important on that map there, but consistent through Chalet, despite the fact that it didn't really go their direction. And then on that final map of Oregon, I think just working with the team, right? Support now, as Shaiko kind of was more of the entry, was finding more of those opportunities for the team, opening things up for them, but still there with the squad, supporting them on those plays, like this window play for sure. Knowing that you don't want to just Amaru in the hook, right? You don't want to just jump in the window immediately, right? Get on the rappel, play your operators, play your utility. Felt like it was very strong coming through from BDS. So yeah, well-deserved MVP. LeakyFag wouldn't have given it to anyone else.
Yeah, the Kitty MVP is going to be going to LeakyFag, and as we said it, we already discussed it. This was kind of an expectation that we had from this player individually, but the fact that he was able to bring that out consistently throughout the series is a whole feat on its own that should very much be commended.
Yeah, and I think back for example about SI, remember the graphic we had about the comparison of the operators that Shaiko plays and the operators that LeakyFag plays, right? Shaiko was playing Yana, and then there was like this bunch of operators that LeakyFag plays, which shows that he can play multiple different roles, as you mentioned, being the spearhead on Bank, carrying on Chalet, and being more of a team helper on Oregon. If you have all these different facets on your playstyle and you can do all these different things for your team, that is super helpful.
He's creative in a way that Shaiko is more just kind of raw focused on what he does very well. LeakyFag has interesting solutions to problems, rotates very smart, you know, has great aim as well, of course. So it's a fun player to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors coming in together and giving this individual, this player, the chance to really push the team forward. But then it also comes to the question of that first mapper maybe not showing up as much as we expected, and we saw how that played out. So this time around, you get locked in and loaded into the server on the second game. You get it halfway through the second game. You get it on the third game. So yes, that's a great opportunity to be in. But the upcoming matches against M80, that's also going to be a little bit of a question mark. And maybe even, as you know, Jesse, you said it yourself, a rematch against w7m, if they can really utilize some of these pain points that we've seen today, it's gonna be an interesting one to say the least.
Yeah, it should be fun. I think depending on how the bracket goes up, I believe since they're now first seed in Group B, they should play the second seed in Group A for the first round. So I'm assuming it'll be M80 or W7M or still possible Auction Esports for their grand finals if they make it all the way there.
Yeah, it's going to be W7M against Auction Esports. I'm really sorry to break this one to you, Jesse, but I do think W7M most likely are going to get their rematch against Team BDS.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Game's not played on paper, but
no,
you know,
not.
you've got to favor W7M in that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they do manage to get a 2-0 against Cyclops, and that is what we were seeing earlier today on the B stream. All games now are going to be going on the A stream because we're going to be looking later today, well, in a couple of minutes, at NIP up against Falcons. That is an interesting one because it's another rematch. Like, this is an actual rematch. We've seen this one yesterday, and it was very heavily sided in favor of Ninjas in Pajamas. They closed it out 2-0. It was 7-2, 7-3. So Falcons struggled to find their signature playstyle, so to say. They managed to find it against G2, but the question is, can they repeat that against NIP today?
Exactly, yeah. It's going to be a rematch. We know that rematches in Siege obviously or sometimes play out different, whereas the other team that was previously not victorious comes out victorious. I would hope so for Falcons because it looked really dominant for Ninjas in Pajamas, as you said. And if a team loses their identity, as in the way that they play, there's bigger issues going on the surface and the things that you can just change and like, oh, you know, this player wasn't playing well. We'll get him on a different operator next round.
Yeah.
So there's bigger issues in that. So if they were able to show that against G2, the world champions, that should be a good omen for their game coming up in a bit.
Yeah, I think it's a real test for Falcons, you know, because we've seen them in a couple of big tournaments now. We saw them obviously in G8 last year, G8 this year. The Copenhagen Major was a big one for them, and they played well throughout all of these events we've seen them. They are not, you know, getting stomped by international teams. They're showing up, they're having good performances. But I think it's a real different test. Like, how can you adapt on a game that you've already, like, struggled with? You've already shown that you can't beat NIP, so how do you change your playstyle? How do you adapt to the same opponent the very next day? And so this will be a really interesting test, just to kind of see how far along Falcons actually are on an international level.
Yeah, those questions are going to be answered very shortly because we're going to be coming back with the second matchup of today, Falcons up against Ninjas in Pajamas. A rematch that we're all looking forward to, so don't go anywhere because we're going to take a break and we'll be back shortly.